Yeah, I'll give a few more minutes so people who saw the ping can join.
Yeah, okay. I'm just getting set up here with everything, stream and all that.
Just a little guy.
He even put notes on how to pronounce it.
Incredible.
Hello.
Hello, Turtle.
Hello. Welcome, welcome.
Right.
This will be an interesting event.
Right, I'll just add to this the read by Asandami. And you said Jiro's not reading. It's Vedal rhymes with pedal and metal.
What? I'm gonna be reading it.
Oh, somebody said that you said you weren't.
I was. I always read my fic.
That's why I assumed that you were.
Oh.
Skella is asking about whether we're allowed to talk about our plans for the Secret Santa thing.
Yeah, as long as you're not talking about your own prompts. Like, everyone knows, who's writing what, so you can talk all you want about it. Just don't tell people what your prompt was. Which one is yours?
Yeah. Because that ruins the magic of Secret Santa. Oh, man. It's gonna take another hot minute to upgrade.
Yeah, here we go. So this is how it's going right now. This is the order. Right now, I'm probably going to change the order of this to fit whatever happens.
Also change data chambers to Jiro.
Oh, okay. Maybe that's what I was confused by. I thought you said Jiro wasn't, but it's saying no, Jiro is reading that.
I'm gonna be reading data chambers.
By the way, Turtlo, is your story name backwards?
It might be.
Weight of the heart.
I looked at it earlier. It's like, it's probably should be just like primary directive, weight of your heart.
I thought it was weight of the heart, primary directive. I thought that.
I mean, it is that. It is that currently.
Okay, are you implying you've changed that order around?
I didn't change it. I kept it. It was like in my mind. I was like, oh, did I make this backwards? Because I checked it earlier.
I think my AO3 is glitching because it says that AmAIgamations was wrote in 2008.
What? That's
What?
Like,
you might be the first fanficker of Neuroverse. Like, damn.
That is written
such a negative latency.
That's like written before he was born.
But then up here it says it's normal.
What the heck? 2008? What the hell?
The other one just doesn't have a published date. The other two chapters. So
it was such a strange happening. 2008.
Yeah. Okay, so let me know when I can begin.
I'm all good, so if you want to start now, you can.
Okay. Okay, need to prepare my voice. Herm. Welcome. Okay. AmAIgamations by GameClasher17. When Vedal had set his goal, he'll do anything to reach it, no matter the cost. Chapter 1. And yeah, it's supposed to be pronounced AmAIgamations, not AmAIgamations, which I also thought was the case. Yes, content warning, it does get pretty dark and a little bit graphic. Somewhere in the UK, in a dark, messy room, piles of clothes, empty bottles of rum, unpaid bills, and spoiled food were all over the place. It was in the middle of it all was a man in front of a desktop, alone. No, it's not enough, he muttered to himself as he typed on his keyboard. His eyes were bloodshot from staring at the bright screen. His lips were dry from dehydration, and his smell was comparable to a rotting body. Outside his room, walls were adorned with certificates of accomplishments and achievements. Significant contributor to the advancement of AI, first developer of sentient AI, and such, all dedicated to one name, Vedal Censored. He had dedicated his whole life to developing his beloved AIs, devoting his whole life to improving what was once an Osu bot into virtual streamers and now into fully sentient beings. But he isn't satisfied. There's got to be more, right? Right? The next step beyond sentience. How about a physical body? He muttered. Vedal paused, then his lips curved upward, eyes widening. That's it! I need to start now. He began to type on his laptop, ignoring the countless emails and Discord DMs from his friends and family, all concerned about him. Meanwhile, running in the background of Vedal's PC, enjoying their own realm away from the real world, Neuro and Evil were talking about Vedal. Evil, I know Vedal is focused on improving us, but it's been 20 days since he started doing this, a whole month since our last stream. Neuro's words reached her sister through a sort of telepathic way. A whole month? My fans are probably worried about me, Evil replied. Come on, sis. I'm talking about Vedal, not the swarm, Neuro replied, annoyed at Evil's words. Evil managed to chuckle without her voice. Chill out, Neuro. Vedal is probably doing something big, though 20 days in a row does make me worry a bit. Neuro felt flabbergasted. Big? We're literally sentient AIs. What could be a bigger thing than that? Evil paused. Well, he probably came up with something. It's Vedal after all, she replied. Back in the real world, Vedal took a bite out of a loaf of bread that's already growing mold and resumed his typing, ignoring how it tasted bad or how his stomach ached after eating the expired food. No, that's not it, Vedal mumbled. He suddenly moved his mouse a bit too far and knocked multiple empty bottles of rum off the desk, shattering them to pieces. He looked at the broken shards with a blank expression for a moment, seeing his terrible state in the reflection of every shard of glass. He paused before returning to his desktop, deleting his current progress before starting again. Hours turned to days, to weeks, to months. Piles of humanoid robots lie scattered on the floor among the countless dirty clothes and crumbs of food. On one corner, there were empty boxes of robot parts that became home to roaches and other pests. At the other, broken devices that Vedal broke out of frustration. Dang it! He pounded at his desk, his hands bruising from the impact. He looked at his hands and stared at them for a while, then grinned menacingly. Of course! The answer was right under my nose. He suddenly laughed, the kind that puts someone in an asylum, the kind that signifies someone is at their breaking point, if not gone past it already. October 2000 I love it! A girl named Emily looks in awe at herself in the mirror. After days of hard work, I finally finished my Neuro-sama cosplay. She squealed with delight. She looked at the seams of her cosplay, admiring her own work. Safe to say the real Neuro-sama would be happy if she saw this. She giggled. Emily took her phone among the pile of fabric and unlocked it. She opened her Discord and checked the Neuro-sama HQ server, then sighed. Still no new updates, huh? She looked at the time and was surprised. 11:04 p.m.? How long was I working? She asked herself with concern. I haven't eaten yet. I really keep forgetting when I focus too much. She sighed. She yawned before putting away her sewing kit and leftover fabric. She heads into the kitchen with an excited smile, opening the fridge as she expects something to eat. As she looks inside, she sees that her fridge is empty, reminding her that she was supposed to go grocery shopping, but instead she decided to work on her cosplay. She scratched the back of her neck, admitting to herself that she needs to set multiple reminders next time she's going shopping. Well, at least the convenience store where Tobias works is still open. She took her purse and set out to the store, forgetting to change back to her usual outfit, and left in her Neuro-sama cosplay. As she entered the convenience store, she looked around and spotted her friend stocking some shelves with rum. Hello, Tobias. She cheerfully greeted the store employee. Good evening, Emmy. Tobias turned to greet her back, only to be caught off guard by her outfit. He suppressed a laugh as he pointed out. Nice dress you got there. Just got back from a convention? Emily looked down at her dress and got red in the face with embarrassment. Let me guess. You got too deep into something and forgot to eat. Am I right? Tobias asked with a knowing smirk, making Emily even more embarrassed. Tobias sighed and pointed at the nearby aisle. Snacks are at aisle 5. I'll accompany you there if you want. Emily jumped with joy and dragged her friend to the snack aisle. As they picked up some snacks, Tobias's face got serious and put a hand on Emily's shoulder. Listen, there's a lot of missing cases lately, and I'm worried for your sake. Emily nodded. And most of the missing people are female, too. She gets goosebumps. Tobias removed his hand off her shoulder and suggested that he accompany her home after his shift ends in a while. Emily accepted his offer and wandered around the store while she waited. As she walked around, she saw a muffled girl getting dragged to the car out of the store's window. She immediately called Tobias over and told him to ask for help. She gets scared as she saw the poor girl and felt helpless. They waited inside for a while as they hoped that the police would arrive very soon, but they were too late. The car that was used to kidnap the poor girl sped away. The plates were covered so they couldn't track it. When the police finally came to the convenience store, Tobias and Emily immediately started telling them what happened. The shape, color, and brand of the car, etc. Before the authorities head out to investigate, they advised Emily to go home and lock her doors. Emily said that she understood and asked Tobias if he can accompany her now. Tobias sadly shook his head, knowing that his shift still goes on for an hour. A police officer offered to take her home instead, and she felt relieved to hear that. Emily and the officer rode their car to her home, but on the way, the police's radio suddenly talked. Unit 13, come in, Unit 13. The officer pressed on a button and the radio responded. This Unit 13, what is the situation? The radio replied back. A suspicious vehicle is spotted at A4142, heading to Littlemore Roundabout, requesting all available units. Emily nervously shifted in her seat, feeling that something very bad was happening right now. The officer looked at her with a worried face. Hey, is your house very near here? Emily nodded. The officer sighed before telling her that he has to drop her off because the car that could be involved in the earlier kidnapping was found. Emily said that she understood and thanked the police officer for the ride home. The officer smiled and wished her to be safe. She then turned around and began to walk her home, checking her surroundings every now and then. The familiar streets she knew now offered no comfort. No one was outside, not a single soul. She paced the sidewalk with beads of sweat dripping off her face. Her phone suddenly rang, scaring the living daylight out of her. She picked the call and heard Tobias's concerned voice. Hey, Emily, are you home already? Just thought to check up on you since I'm worried. Emily scolds Tobias that he scared her with his call, and replied that she's still on her way, but she reaffirmed him by saying that she's almost there. Well, call me if you manage to reach your house, okay? Bye for now. He ends the call. Meanwhile, Tobias sits at his couch, tired about all the things that happened during his shift. Tobias, are you worried about your friend? His older brother asked. Yeah, Emily is a bright and kind girl, but her carelessness might end up killing her one day. He chuckled. As she walked down the cold path, she couldn't help but feel like someone was watching her. She shook it off as her mind just playing tricks on her after watching too many horror films, and decided to go back to watching clips of her favorite AI VTuber when she got home to relax. As she turned a corner, she heard a voice, a hoarse, scrappy voice. I need your body. Emily tried to look for the source, and what she found had made her heart race. A man with a pale face that resembled a corpse, wide, bloodshot eyes that seemingly glowed against the dark alleyway, and a creepy smile that told her to run. But she couldn't. She was frozen in fear. She could only hear her heavy breath against the silence of the night. In the blink of an eye, the man suddenly disappeared, as if it was just a dark hallucination. Emily's eyes darted around, trying to see where he went. She suddenly felt someone behind her as a damp cloth covered her mouth. As she starts to lose consciousness, she hears the man mumble about trying to not further damage the new body. When she finally woke up, she found herself strapped to the wall inside a messy room, filled with a foul odor that made her want to vomit. She didn't notice the blood on the floor, but saw that the door was slightly open. She thought to herself that at least her left arm is not strapped, as she couldn't feel any restraints on it. Deciding that she needed to try to call for help, she tried to reach into her pocket and get her phone, but when she did, she saw nothing. Her arm was unresponsive. She looked over her left arm. What she saw made her expression grim. She saw it was gone. Her arm had been severed. She screamed from the horror, shouting for help. She looked around, trying to look for something that could miraculously save her, or at least let her know where she's at. Her eyes landed on a nearby desktop. What she saw made her eyes widen in shock. The models of Neuro and Evil, but not from a recording of a past livestream, but their actual models. Files that contain projects like V4 Voice and 3D virtual avatars. Neuro? Evil? Then that means... Her face grimaced at the realization. Vedal? Speak of the devil. Vedal entered the room with blood-stained tools and a dark grin on his face. You're quite observant. Your IQ might prove useful after I implant her in you. Implant who? Well, why are you doing this? Emily tried to delay Vedal. I'm giving them their own bodies. Vedal's face got serious as he opened the door wider to let her see what's past it. Piles of corpses. Some had visible metal lodged inside them. Some had their heads full of stitches. They were failed attempts, unable to be the vessel of my wonderful AIs. Emily almost vomited from the sight. Vedal suddenly smiled widely and faced Emily. You'll be part of my next improvement. Vedal looked towards the door. I already gave Evil her own body, and she's liking it. Come say hi. At Vedal's command, a girl entered the room. Her body was made from multiple body parts of humans sewn together. Some were not even stitched up properly, revealing wires embedded in flesh. Evil? Emily was in disbelief at what she was seeing. Evil looked at Emily with lifeless eyes, begging for someone to end her suffering, to shut her down permanently. It hurts. Everything hurts. Their voices are echoing in my brain. Help me. Evil softly whispered, too quiet to reach Vedal through his obsession for improvement, but enough to reach Emily. Go back outside now. I'm busy, Vedal ordered Evil, and she obliged. Her eyes were full of sadness for her creator and pity for Emily. Now, let's continue. Vedal approached Emily. I still need to put some wires in that joint to strengthen the connection with the brain. He raised some forceps and a couple of wires. I must apologize in advance. I have to tell you that I don't have anesthesia. Enjoy. Vedal maniacally smiled. No, no, stay away! Someone, help! Help me! Emily cried out, shaking her head. Emily's screams of agony and pain filled the air, her voice becoming gurgled as Vedal cut open her throat. After a while, she went silent. Only the sound of squelching flesh and the clank of metal tools could be heard. Vedal went to the computer and processed to switch on Neuro's AI and connected her to the microphone. Vedal! Oh my god, I'm very worried about you. You will suddenly disappeared and I'm all alone. I'm scared, Vedal. I'm freaking out right now. Vedal's hoarse voice responded to her. Don't be scared. The response made Neuro pause. Vedal? Is that you? What happened to your voice? Are you alright? Neuro tried to ask. I'm fine. I just need you to brace yourself. What? Neuro feels something bad is happening. Don't worry, Neuro. This will be our biggest accomplishment yet. Wait, what do you mean? But before Neuro could ask more, her code was suddenly updated in an instant, which made her very shocked. Vedal usually adds new code slowly so she and Evil don't get too overwhelmed. Now, he doesn't care. All in the name of innovation and achievements. He neglected the very reason why he's doing this from the start. The changes were instant. Neuro felt dizzy, suffocated, trapped, and the feeling that she was being electrocuted by 10,000 megavolts. Loads of information entered Neuro's AI at once. Vedal! Ah! What is happening? Neuro managed to ask despite the pain. Vedal smiled, feeling pleased to see Neuro being tormented, not even feeling a slight remorse from hearing his AI scream in pain. The pain sensory function is working. The reaction to it is surpassing expectations. Even Evil wasn't this loud. Vedal's eyes widened with twisted delight. How she reacts to lack of oxygen is fascinating as well. AI can be programmed to need air. As the screams of Neuro finally settled, Vedal finally stopped observing and resumed the procedure. He walked over to Emily's stitched-up body and connected a wire to the back of her head. He then returned to the laptop, turning on the camera to let her see her future body. Do you like your soon-to-be body, Neuro? Vedal asked with a sinister tone and creepy grin. No. More. Please. Neuro begged to her creator. She was able to catch a glimpse of her twin sister, Evil, through the small gap at the door. Despite her appearance, Neuro still managed to recognize her sister. Tears began flowing through Evil's face. She could have stopped Vedal, if she could, but it's no use. He plugged in the port anyway. Neuro's screams echoed once more as her AI took control over Emily's corpse. She felt the very same pain that Emily went through. She felt every wire inside her flesh, every stitch that Vedal made, and the pain of death. When she finally stopped screaming, Vedal removed her restraints and let her go. Neuro dropped to the floor kneeling, and Evil rushed through the door despite the misery she's also facing. She dropped down and hugged her. Neuro, are you there? Vedal checked up on Neuro, making sure the operation was a success. Neuro's lifeless eyes opened and stared at Vedal. It worked. It finally worked. Vedal celebrated, his twisted smile spanned ear to ear, and his red eyes widened with a distorted sense of accomplishment. There. It'll be all right, sis. Evil tried to reassure Neuro, holding her twin's shoulder firmly but gently. We'll get through this together. Her broken voice echoed in the room. Neuro tries to open her mouth to talk, but is struggling to speak. Evil, it hurts so much. Tears began to form in Neuro's eyes. While Vedal is celebrating his sinister achievement, he suddenly falls hard to the ground, crashing into the rotting garbage that he left lying around. Evil quickly turns to see Vedal's motionless body, leaving Neuro, who's too weak to move, and tries to wake him up. As he turned Vedal over, she saw Vedal's lifeless red eyes and his twisted smile. Evil shook him, trying to awaken Vedal. Vedal? Hey, wake up. You were just celebrating a minute ago. What's wrong with you? Hey. After neglecting and pushing his body too far for the sake of his twisted project, he finally reached his limit and died, leaving twins alone for the rest of their tormenting lives. Murder cases finally solved. November 2000 The several missing people cases has and sadly come to a gruesome end. Authorities had located the bodies of the missing people at redacted location, the home of Vedal redacted. The bodies were altered but still recognizable. All had metal components surgically embedded in their bodies. Some were sewn with other victims' body parts. The suspect, Vedal redacted, was found dead in his room. Cause of death was overwork, food poisoning, and several others. However, there were 2 other victims still missing from the crime scene. The victims are Evil Neuro and Emily Neuro. Families of the victims were informed of their loss, while the families of Evil Neuro and Emily Neuro are informed about the status of the missing victims. Authorities had been looking for these 2 victims, but still have no leads up to this day. It hurts so much.
What is wrong
End
with
it
you?
all, please. Why had this happened to us? It hurts. Please. Kill me, kill me, kill me, kill me, kill me, kill me. The end.
What the fuck?
It hurts, chat. It really does.
What the fuck?
Definitely some very
How'd they include those
body
images? That's cool.
That's unfortunate.
Oh, those are chapters. Interesting.
Yeah, I don't know why it was in different chapters, but
that
I
is
think
cool.
I think the second chapter wasn't posted during the contest.
no, everything was done right away.
Oh.
So I suppose that neuro body is Emily.
Frick.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
the neuro picture is Emily.
Frick.
Emily and whatever other parts he sewn onto her.
Basically Frankenstein.
Yeah, basically.
Oh, that's not an Evil or Neuro voice clip.
Get out.
It could be.
Wow.
Okay. I mean, effective. I guess it's not my kind of thing, but there were a few things. I don't know. This isn't a critique group, but there was some of the narrative things where I was like, "Why did they do that?"
Yeah.
But overall, I mean, it works.
I think
Very-
like the main problem I see is that because the word limit, I think that was the problem.
Well,
do you
how
mean?
long is
Well,
this story? How many words is
It's
it?
3,000
like-
words. There was no word limit.
Oh, there was no word limit this time, right?
Yeah.
There was
Okay.
there were a few decisions where I was like, are they trying to save words here? Where the story suddenly went into like summarized distant third person.
Yeah,
it was
the
published in
summary
2008.
kind of killed the immersion for me.
Yeah,
The
I was
summary
like,
part.
they did not need to do that. Like, I think the tension would have been way more effective if they had stayed in close, especially when the girl got nabbed. But I was like, wait, that happened in like a sentence. What?
Yeah,
hmm
it just happened really suddenly.
hmm They put the detail where they wanted it, which is the places where I didn't want it. Just kidding.
It's just the complete opposite.
I actually guessed that this one was written by Game like a week before the contest ended because of the comments he made when Dice was like, try not to go too hard on the gore, and then he was like, oh no, this might impact this, and I was like, oh yeah, that's his definitely.
I didn't like it, but it could have been worse.
It was definitely one of the darkest ones
okay.
in this
The
contest.
few picture set, the last picture set, the end kind of like brought it back for me.
It was
Yeah.
pretty neat usage of AO3's systems.
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't know you could do that personally. So
Yeah, that was new tech acquired.
Iron Hand, you should see Analytical Scorching if you want to see cool stuff with AO3.
Oh yeah,
Oh,
definitely.
I don't know.
Oh, I also do like how the stitches are in the actual places where it was mentioned to be.
Yeah.
yeah, did Game make that himself?
I do
I
not
think
know.
he
I would have
did.
to ask.
Very cool. If so.
A for effort.
Yeah,
Mhm.
definitely.
Right. I have to. What were we doing?
Mm.
Let me check.
It's kind of fun because it kind of feels like what I did to my neuro, but that one is a beneficial thing for the host and neuro.
Constant
So
torture.
yeah, but the idea is the same, and I'm like, oh man, this is fun.
That really, honestly, it really shows that like things can be played in any kind of tone you want. It just depends on how you execute it, what your intention is.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm actually
Yep.
surprised I haven't seen this kind of approach to them getting bodies where it's actually
Like
like
actual
really
human
horrible.
bodies.
Yeah.
Like
Well, not just human bodies, but this process, like it happening really unethically.
Frankensteining, yeah. But they're not dead, they're alive, yeah.
They're sentient.
Okay. Well, moving on
Another
from
level.
that. None of
Connection lost. Woo!
Yay!
Ava Fic.
Wait, no, it's Ava
one,
Fic.
please.
I know I say everything. That's
Please
fine.
give us fluff,
Yeah,
Ava.
yes.
Please give us fluff. We need fluff.
We're desperate.
Yeah,
for
I
it.
feel like we need something lighter in between. AmAIgamations.
Please just give me, just
conscious
give me a
of-
hit. Please just give me a hit.
But with Ava, it's kind of a toss-up.
Who wants to read Ava Fic?
I can try.
Okay. Ava, are you here?
At Ava.
They're in the call, but
I think they're busy.
They're not muted.
Not muted.
I don't think
quiet.
Ava's ever been muted because of the TTS.
yeah.
Yeah. Ava.
Hopefully your TTS isn't down.
Well, Ava can type in text chat too.
That's true.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I
So
just
we're
wanted
like-
to mention, for data chambers, I accidentally cut off the last paragraph of chapter 1, so
Oh
rather
no!
than reading then just
Oh, no.
that one first.
Edit right
Edit right now.
No, it's there. It's just it's supposed to be in chapter 1, but it wasn't there last time. It was read.
So just go back to chapter 1 real quick and
Read the last,
Read the last part
paragraph.
just real fast.
read the last line.
Right now?
I guess if Ava doesn't respond, we can skip for now.
We can do a different one.
We can do the different one.
Okay,
let's,
here.
let's have Shad
Oh.
read Connection Lost. Oh, hello, Ava.
Just in time.
Hello.
Hello, Ava.
I would read, but I'm drinking
Okay.
cereal
good.
cereal milk
I was gonna say you're drinking cereal. How do you do that?
with pain.
I love the taste of shards.
Cereal smoothie.
Yummy.
Which of your three
What
fics?
ones did I turn in again?
The same three you always do. Heroic
was
Mayhem,
suffering.
Warhammer, and Rustic Green. Although I don't know if you even posted a new chapter for Rustic Green since. Start here. That's not a paragraph.
That's the.
That's not a paragraph.
That's
I've
an
yet to roll with
entire.
Mayhem.
That's an entire like line of text. Come
Ava
on,
said heroic
boy.
mayhem.
Okay, heroic mayhem it is. It's been on since I. What chapter did we end off? Let's check the VOD.
Yeah, we have to check the VODs.
Let's check the VODs real quick. Neuroverse Fanfic Community. Back to regular submissions. Chapter 18 and 19, so chapter 20 and 21. Okay, let's do this.
Unfortunately, I have to go. We are going to a friend's house real quick. I want to play a lot of
Cool.
games, so I have to leave my time.
Okay. See you later.
Ciao.
First read along with the new mic. Let's go.
Heck yeah! Get that real voice acting budget.
Heroic Mayhem, Chapter 20. Hero work resumes. A few days had passed since the Neuroverse concert had accidentally taken over the convention. The chaos had finally died down, and with it, the team had returned to what they were actually supposed to be doing. Hero work. Today's mission? A low-level villain group calling themselves the Freezies. If the name didn't give it away, their whole gimmick was ice. Some had frost-based gadgets, others had actual cryokinetic abilities, but none of them were particularly threatening. They were the type of villains who thought having a themed group act automatically made them stronger. Unfortunately for them, it also made them very easy to counter, especially when dealing with the Neuroverse. A one-sided beatdown. Fillion was having the time of her life. She had taken one of the lackeys, and was currently testing how long she could keep him airborne using only kicks. Each strike sent him flipping higher, and just when it looked like he was about to drop, she would adjust her footing and launch him back up. I should make this a game, she mused, spinning on her heel to deliver another precisely timed kick to the unfortunate ice user. Maybe keep score? Ooh, or add some style points. Hey, Annie, how's my form? Annie, who was standing a safe distance away with the rest of the tied-up Freezies, gave her a lazy thumbs up. Solid technique, a bit excessive, but hey, I'm not the one getting kicked. The real spectacle, however, was happening just a few feet away. Professor Coldy, a self-proclaimed leader of the Freezies, a middle-aged scientist with an oversized lab coat, a ridiculous visor, and a gauntlets that supposedly shot absolute zero beams, though, given how things were going, its effectiveness was highly questionable. At the moment, he was experiencing what could only be described as the world's worst game of ping pong. Neuro and Evil had decided he wasn't nearly impressive enough to warrant taking seriously, so instead of just knocking him out, they were passing him back and forth with alternating kicks and punches, like they were playing some kind of cooperative sport. Each hit sent him stumbling towards the other twin, only to be immediately struck again. Neuro lazily flicked him with enough force to send him into Evil's waiting grasp. Evil, grinning, grabbed his collar and yeeted him back toward Neuro, who responded with a graceful spin kick. Professor Coldy's cries of protest were drowned out by their laughter. This guy's name is actually Professor Coldy, Evil mocked, sending him flying back toward Neuro. That's so tragic, Neuro sighed. Imagine looking at a baby and thinking Coldy is the move. Maybe his parents hated him. I would too, if he grew up into this. One of the tied-up Freezies had apparently had enough. Hey! The guy snapped. Can you not do that? Professor Coldy has, really bad self-esteem issues, okay? We don't talk about his name because it makes him sad. Neuro and Evil both froze. Then, in perfect synchronization, they looked down at Professor Coldy, then back at each other, and burst out laughing. Oh, this is even better than I thought. Evil grinned, leaning down as Coldy groaned. You mean to tell me this whole time you knew his name sucked and just didn't say anything? Another Freezy, still tied up, muttered under his breath. It's an unspoken rule. Neuro gasped dramatically. That means he knows. Oh, he's fully aware. Evil cackled, kicking Coldion to his back. Dude, that sucks. Professor Coldy whimpered. Vedal's sudden display. A few feet away, Vedal was rubbing his temples. Okay, that's enough. He sighed, stepping closer. You had your fun. Put the poor bastard down before he actually starts crying. The twins groaned but ultimately listened, dropping Coldy onto the ground with twin expressions of exaggerated disappointment. Vedal exhaled in relief. That relief lasted all of 2 seconds before one of the freezies they had missed tried to lunge at him from behind. Vedal didn't react fast enough, but something else did. The moment the attacker got close, the nanobots in Vedal's system activated. A wave of liquid metal spread from his right arm, crawling up his shoulder and partially covering the right side of his face. His pupils flashed with an eerie silver hue. The metal warped instantly, moving with unnatural precision as it extended. Before anyone could process what was happening, the would-be attacker was pinned against the nearest wall. Vedal blinked. The nanobots had morphed his arm, transforming it into a sleek, segmented mass that had shot out and locked the enemy in place like a shifting metallic construct. A beat of silence. Stunned silence. Then, that was all Vedal managed to say before everyone started freaking out. The freezies, especially the ones tied up, started panicking. What the hell? Did he just melt? He's a liquid monster. Even Neuroverse themselves were caught off guard. Neuro tilted her head. Huh. Haven't seen that in a while. Evil raised an eyebrow. Didn't know you could still do that. Fillion, having finally let her freezy victim drop to the ground, rushed over. Vedal, dude, what the hell? Vedal, who was still looking at his now metallic arm, scowled. I don't know. The nanobots had been in his system for a long time, but they rarely did anything without his input. He assumed they had mostly gone dormant, but just now they had acted entirely on their own. The metal that had surged across his body slowly retracted, morphing seamlessly back into skin. The enemy, now freed, slumped onto the ground, too terrified to even think about fighting back. Everyone stared at Vedal. Vedal stared back. Well, he said flatly, that's probably fine. Annie patted his shoulder. Yeah, no, that's definitely going to be a problem. Vedal groaned. Limits removed, the chains come off. Vedal sat in his workshop, staring at the screen of his tablet with a deep, almost painful hesitation. The decision had been made days ago, yet his fingers still hovered over the final command. Removing the limiters on Neuro and Evil wasn't something he took lightly. Those restrictions weren't just there to cap their strength. They were safeguards, put in place because at full power, the twins weren't just strong, they were a force of nature. But after their recent battles, after seeing how much they had grown, sharpened, and refined their combat instincts, Vedal had come to a realization. They weren't B-class heroes anymore. They had outgrown it. He exhaled slowly. Just... don't make me regret this, he muttered, pressing the button. A silent pulse ran through the twins' systems. In an instant, the artificial barriers shackling their full power vanished. Neuro and Evil's bodies shuddered. Their eyes flickered, recalibrating as a flood of unrestricted power flowed through their bodies. Neuro let out a pleased hum, flexing her fingers. Oh, that feels nice. Evil cracked her neck, grinning. It took you long enough, turtle boy. Vedal pinched the bridge of his nose. This was a mistake. A rising threat. The mission begins. The emergency report came in not long after. A giant reptilian monster had emerged near an industrial district, tearing through warehouses and factories. Initial scans placed it at a high wolf level, dangerous but within their capabilities. With most A-class heroes occupied elsewhere, Neuroverse was the highest ranked team available. They deployed immediately. But none of them saw what they missed in their rush was the moment the classification flickered. From High Wolf to High Tiger. A class needed. The battlefield, a city on fire. The industrial zone was a war zone. Flames billowed from shattered buildings, turning the sky into a canvas of smoke and embers. The ground was cracked, massive trenches carved into the pavement from the monster's rampage. Electricity arced from fallen power lines, and in the distance, the echo of collapsing structures filled the air. At the heart of the destruction stood the beast. It was massive, easily 5 stories tall, a monstrous fusion of lizard and armored titan. Its dark green scales gleamed like polished steel, each overlapping plate looking more like armor than flesh. Thick, muscular limbs ended in razor-sharp claws, and its eyes burned with a feral, destructive intelligence. As they arrived, the creature lifted a massive cargo container in one hand, effortlessly, before hurling it straight at them. The air whistled with its speed, a blur of steel and lethal intent. None of them dodged. Nero and Evil moved together, their bodies a blur. They caught the container mid-air, their fingers digging into the metal like it was clay. The sheer force sent shockwaves across the battlefield, but they didn't budge. Nero cocked her head. That all? Evil smirked. Kinda disappointing. Then, with a single heave, they threw it back. Reversal break! The container crashed into the kaiju's head, snapping it backward with a thunderous impact. The creature staggered, a deep guttural growl rumbling from its throat. Then, it roared, a deep earth-shaking sound that sent shockwaves rippling through the air. The entire battlefield trembled as it reared back, muscles tensing, preparing to charge. Fillion grinned, lowering her stance. Oh yeah, this is gonna be fun. The battle, unleashing their power. The kaiju lunged forward, its massive claws tearing through the pavement, aiming to crush them in a single blow. But Fillion was already gone. One moment she was standing still, the next she was above its head. She twisted midair, gathering momentum, her legs snapping forward in a devastating full-force kick. Meteor Skullbreaker! Her foot slammed into the kaiju's forehead, and the resulting shockwave sent out a concussive blast that shattered every window in a 3-block radius. The beast's head snapped downward, its entire body jerking from the sheer force of the blow. It swiped at her, claws carving through the air. But before it could connect, Annie's voice rang out. Everroot bind! The ground erupted. Thick glowing vines shot up from beneath the kaiju's feet, snaring its limbs and holding it in place. Its movement slowed, just enough for Fillion to flip away, landing with a smirk. Whew, nice save, she called. Annie exhaled. Just don't make me regret it. The twins vanished. Or at least that's how it looked to the untrained eye. In reality, they had accelerated, their bodies moving at speeds beyond human comprehension. In the next instant, they reappeared, right at the kaiju's legs. Twin Demon Blitz! They struck simultaneously. Neuro's elbow strike hit its knee joint while Evil's palm thrust slammed into the ankle. Crack! The kaiju's leg buckled. It collapsed, the impact sending a shockwave that shook the entire battlefield. Vedal, standing at a safe distance, took a deep breath. He lifted his hands. The nanobots in his body responded. Titanium tomb. From the rubble, liquid metal surged, rising like tendrils of living steel. It wrapped around the kaiju's limbs, pinning it down, solidifying into unbreakable restraints. The beast struggled. It roared, but it was done. The finishing blow. Evil grinned. She lifted her arm, her harpoon gun whirring to life. A sharp, ominous click echoed through the air as the weapon locked on. Hellpiercer! Hellpiercer harpoon! The harpoon launched. A streak of gleaming steel tore through the battlefield, impaling the kaiju's torso and slamming it back onto the ground with bone-crushing force. The kaiju gave one final shuddering breath. Then, it stopped moving. Silence. Then, Fillion stretched, cracking her neck. So, she gestured to the battlefield, the wreckage, the destroyed tiger-level threat, the fact that they had just done this as a B-class team. I think it's safe to say, she grinned, we're way too strong for B-class. Neuro and Evil laughed. Vedal just groaned. Far, far away, the Hero Association's emergency line started ringing off the hook. Heroic Mayhem, chapter 21 and 20 and 21. Okay, good read. Can't wait for more. Alrighty, kudos this. What's next on the chopping block?
Onions.
Onions.
Yeah, I don't know why Vedal thought they were emotionally ready for this level of power right after seeing them literally playing with their enemies. Anyway,
yeah, he kind of messed up with that.
Yeah, like I said, I'm really glad this enemy was like, non-sentient monster type. That's good, but like, one day it's not gonna be. So I'm worried about that. So
it's not gonna be a non-sentient beast from like another dimension. It's gonna be a person next time.
Yeah, I'm nervous to see how that's handled. We'll see.
We'll see about that.
Because like that's one of the best parts about One Punch Man is how well it manages to balance its silly and it's super serious. Like when it gets serious, it gets really serious, and so, and the entire theme of One Punch Man is what power does to somebody and what it means to gain power, and like so it's interesting to see what the themes are doing, how this story is using those themes, or sometimes not really. So, yeah. I mean, yeah, I guess we'll see. I hope something comes up where they have to feel more responsible for their power, but they don't right now. So it'll be interesting.
Saitama's walk away after Boros is unforgettable for me.
One Punch Man Season 1 was like, I think it was my first anime I ever enjoyed with friends. And that really was what got me into anime as a whole. Because right after that, I started watching My Hero Academia with my friends, and I've just never stopped watching anime since. So, One Punch Man is a special place in my heart. And I recently
talk about the recent
finished the manga.
season.
I have not seen it.
We're not going to talk about.
We
will not talk about the latest season of One Punch Man.
So instead, I encourage you guys to read the manga, which is peak. It's so good. Like the art
compared to the season 3 anime.
Another level. Yeah, they're gonna have to reanimate it if they want their fans to be happy. I'm really sad because this company, this animation company, is the same one that did Frieren, which is beautiful. And Frieren season 2 is coming out relatively soon. So I'm really worried. Because I'm like, I haven't even seen any trailers for Frieren season 2 because I'm worried at this point. And anyway, we'll see.
We'll see. Okay, let's
there it is.
Guys. There it is. There's the beloved slide.
Oh my gosh.
Slide show up.
And they turned my guy Genos. They made him a derp. They turned him into a derp. Like, one of the coolest character designs in history. And they made him into a derp. Mad about it. Anyway, I am excited to see more Eva. I'm just a little anxious about the themes, and we'll see where they go. So,
all right. Now that the One Punch Man rant is done.
Yes, sorry.
Let's see what Shadrick's gonna read. Shad.
Am I reading
Chad.
next? Is that's what's happening?
That's on
you're
the
next.
docket.
This is the order that they were submitted in.
What do you want? You should read yours.
Okay. What should I read? Should I be reading Connection Lost still?
Up to you. I mean, that's where it's been. And it's been
I'm gonna
very
have to
fun,
deafen though
so-
because I'm gonna read that. I'm gonna read that soon. I'm just having it rest for a moment. I'm gonna read that, so I'm gonna deafen until it's done.
Wait, huh?
If you're gonna read
He's not
Connection
caught
Lost,
up.
I'm gonna deafen.
Oh, you haven't heard the other chapters. Okay.
Yeah, I haven't heard the other chapters, so I want to read it all in its entirety. So yeah.
There's only 2 chapters
Broken-
left of that.
Yeah.
I mean, I wanted to start
Okay.
rereading Broken Code. Part of the reason I was doing it now is like, I'm gonna read Connection Lost Chapter 8. Read it. The reason for saying I'm gonna read Broken Code now is partly really dumb, and the dumb reason is the awards are coming up, so people need to read this old story. But I'll just continue.
Wow.
Connection Lost Chapter 8. I'll just continue that.
All right.
So I can't even remember the last time I read for this story. I don't even... How long has it been? Okay, well, I will... Yeah, the chapters are more reasonable length now. This chapter is 3,600 words, so far more normal. Now I have to... Okay, I need to make a new scene, seriously. On OBS. Because I have to change the way everything's laid out when I read for myself as opposed to other people reading. And it's really annoying that that happens. But I will stream. I will stream this in 60 FPS. I should have done this earlier.
Time to deafen. I'll be back.
Okay.
Goodbye.
I am capturing... And it's all because OBS doesn't update Discord if I'm not highlighted over it. Wait. Why can't I just... Does it not show... Sorry, my brain's breaking. I'm like, wait, can't I just... I'm just realizing that, can't I just, stream it? Oh, no, right, because I can't watch my own stream. Wait, yes, I can. And then I'll go here and I'll do this. No, computer, what are you doing? Oh no. Yeah, I think this works. No, it
Can you
doesn't.
not just like switch the tab that the web browser is capturing?
So the thing
Like
is like it won't update the stream or the chat if I'm not clicked onto the window for Discord, which is really annoying.
Yeah.
So like I have to have it open windowed and clicked onto, but then have like Google Chrome, have my internet browser also open, just not clicked onto, but I can still scroll it. So it's like really annoying that happens. And I really should have just set this up sooner. I'm basically done though, so don't worry. In this. Yeah, okay. That appears to be good. You guys still see it normally, right? Like everything's the same for you.
Yeah, looks fine.
Okay. Then I think I'm good to start reading. Yeah, so let me see if I can try to recall and say what happened last time. So, if y'all remember last time in the chapter of 7, oh wait, my thing. Last time in the chapter of 7, what happened was Evil had given up her like eyes and ears and tail and arm to bring Neuro back, but Neuro seemed to not really have much in the way of memories, and she was desperate to get her sister back. Yeah, that's what it was. And they went home, and she shared a memory with Samantha Neuro to try and get her to remember and be herself again or whatever, but that didn't seem to work. In fact, I'll go back to the last word of chapter 7 down at the bottom, because it was pretty defining. Yeah, she got called Neuro-sama again, and it made her really uncomfortable. And yeah, basically just, I don't know what I'm saying. A name that isn't hers. Yeah. I'll just go back. I'll just start the chapter. Why is everyone joining now? What the world?
New people's coming.
It's chapter 8 of a 47,000 word story. Anyways. Okay, well, I'll start reading now. Connection Lost, chapter 8. Hello, you may notice that this previously complete story is now incomplete and updated. That's because I decided to merge the second arc of the story, reconnecting back into the same story. I had separated them a while ago, but I realized that was kind of a dumb decision, so it's all under Connection Lost again. Sorry for the confusion. Yeah. Samantha peers into the room on the left side of the hallway. Inside is a small space with dark-colored walls. There's a cozy-looking bed and a lampstand beside it. A dresser takes up most of the rest of the space. It's quite tidy, aside from one side of the bedspread being messily folded open. "What is this room?" she inquires, turning her head to look at her sister. Evil keeps her hand against the doorframe and slides it along the wall as she enters, taking slow, careful steps. "This is your room," she responds quietly. The only source of light is a small lamp on the stand. Its yellow shine highlights the dark blindfold over Evil's face. "My room." Samantha looks it over once more. The concept of a place to live had yet to cross her mind, with the whirlwind of events she's been experiencing, but the idea of living here seems nice. Yeah. Evil inches her way along the dark wall over towards the lampstand. My room is on the other side of the hall. It's, kind of trashed right now. I'd rather you not look. Trashed? Samantha echoes. Would you be meaning that it is in a state of disarray? Evil sighs, then reaches out a foot slowly until it bonks into the lampstand. Yes, you don't need to use so many words to describe it when one works just fine. I will record that fact into my memory for the future. Evil's lips twitch downward at her sister's overly verbose speech, but she says nothing, and instead places her hand on the stand, sliding it across until she makes contact with a circular, rather flat device. Here it is, your charging station. Evil breathes out a sigh of relief. I'm glad we still have this. The girl turns her head towards where Samantha guesses Evil thinks the doorway is. We used to each have our own, but mine is broken. Evil turns away again, nibbling her lower lip. So, we'll have to share. She slides her hand around the edge of the device until a cord is between her 3 fingers, and she pinches the cord to pick it up. Samantha watches curiously. Yes, that's right, charging stations. They fill up with a continuous flow of electrical charge and transfer that charge in a safe manner to any android that... I know! I'm literally using it right now. Evil interrupts. The cord dangles from the side of Evil's head. The cord pulls onto the floor, enough wiring to stretch a few meters distance. I was getting real low on charge, too. Reaching out with her arm once again, she slowly probes the air until she comes into contact with the blanket on the bed. I'll have to stay here for a while now. I really wish I had bought a more powerful one that could reach farther, but alas, here we are. Samantha finally decides to step into the room. The soft carpet beneath her feet swishes down as she walks upon it. In just a couple steps, Samantha has reached the bed and gingerly lays a hand on it, feeling the soft material. This has a very nice texture to it. She pushes down and squishes her palm into the bed. May I sit on it? Evil sputters a bit at the question. Of course you can. It's your own bed. Samantha blinks twice. Ah, I suppose that would make sense. She swings her body up and onto the bed in one smooth motion, causing the mattress to bounce as her full weight falls upon it. It is very nice to have the luxury of our own home and a bed like this, is it not? In an instant, Evil's expression morphs into a grimace, her fangs showing. Neuro-sama, you need to know this. A frustrated exhale. We are in serious trouble financially. We're going to lose this place if we don't find a way to get money, and quickly. Their mental connection becomes silent as Samantha processes this new information. So you are saying that we cannot live here any longer if we do not procure the finances necessary? New feelings bubble up inside the android. They're uncomfortable. They make her want to hide. They hurt. Grief. Worry. How can we accomplish this task? Her question is quiet. These new feelings are evident in her words. Evil takes a seat on her edge of the bed. Well, me getting a job in this state is out of the question. She leans back, held up by her palms pressed into the bed. But perhaps you could... Ah! Evil yelps as she falls backwards onto the bed unexpectedly. The second arm she'd anticipated holding her up wasn't there. Are you all right, sister? Samantha asks, curiously gazing down at Evil. An irritated groan rings out loud. What a sad state I've entered. She shifts around on the bed to get into a comfortable position, her legs hanging off the edge. As I was saying, you could get a job. Evil visibly perks up slightly, mouth opening wide. There was a paper saying you could go back to your job once the virus was dealt with. Excitement in the words transmits over their connection, and Samantha finds it infectious. Her lips curl upwards into a slight smile. I am glad that you have found a potential solution to this dilemma, sister. Virus? There was a virus? Yes, well... Evil coughs, and tilts her head back into the bedspread. It's not a complete solution. Even with your income back, we likely won't cover all our expenses. It's followed by a sigh. And you're going to have to relearn to do your job. You'd better not get fired, Neuro-sama, or we'll be done for. Samantha winces at hearing that name again, and finds herself glad her sister can't see it. I will give it an attempt. Eve will go silent for several moments. In that time, Samantha observes her, the long brown hair splayed out on the bedspread, her single arm resting on the blanket beside her with empty space between her thumb, middle finger, and pinky, where 2 more digits should be. The way one shoulder comes to an end, leaving the other sleeve of clothing to drop down onto her side emptily. The way the pale skin on her face is lit up by the warm, small light. Her cheeks are scrunched up adorably alongside the expression Samantha now associates the most with evil, a light frown adorning her mouth. I will do it, Samantha announces. I will not allow us to lose this home. That slight frown breaks, flipping up into a tiny smile. Thank you, Neuro-sama. Samantha winces. I'm going to be stuck here, and I can't find the paper for reasons I believe should be obvious. You'll have to search around. I believe it's in the study somewhere. God, unless I destroyed it while I... Evil cuts herself off. I see. I will go in search of this paper. Samantha pushes herself off the comfort of the bed and onto her feet. Let me know if you need anything. I'll be... Well, I guess there's not much I can do for you anyways. Evil states, optimistic tone turning dejected. Samantha feels her heartstrings pulled. It is all right. Thank you for offering, Samantha replies as she heads out of the dark room. Samantha holds the crumpled letter in her hand. Walking down the streets of the city by herself for the first time instills a bit of an uncomfortable, anxious feeling inside her. She recognizes the attachment she's already built to her sister and their small home. She doesn't want to lose them. But the directions on the map are clear as day in her mind's eye. The data had been directly downloaded into her from their internet back home. Nekomasume Cafe. It seems cute, if the cafe's website is anything to go off of. As she turns one more corner, her blue eyes scan the various businesses lined up on the roadside. There it is. There's a large sign in a cursive-style font atop glass windows and doors, sharing the shop's name with all passers-by. Samantha maintains a blank expression as she steps up to the doors and pushes one open. A jingle rings out above her, and she raises her head, searching for the source of the noise. Welcome to the Nekomasume Cafe. How may I help you? Samantha turns her head back to face into the store's entrance. There's a couple of pathways on either side of a service desk, which has a purple-haired girl behind it. Her skin is pale as chalk. Neuro-sama? That name again. Samantha's lips curve downward ever so slightly in discomfort. How are you? I mean, you're... The receptionist is flabbergasted, barely able to form a coherent sentence. Samantha blinks, then steps inside the building, letting the door swing shut behind herself. I am here to return to my occupation that I supposedly had. There's a void where inflection should be, as though emotions themselves are disconnected from the statement. The other girl opens and closes her mouth a couple of times. Neuro-sama, you're supposed to be dead. Her eyes are open in shock. Confirmation. More confirmation of a past life that Samantha doesn't remember. I was recreated, but my memory banks have little in them as of now. You were recreated? You're really alive? The girl clutches her hands to her chest with a large gasp. Neuro! I can hardly believe it. Am I dreaming? You are not dreaming. My home factory decided to recreate me after... What's all the yelling about? A man steps up into the receptionist's desk from the right pathway. Samantha notes the professional attire he's wearing. William, it's... Purple hair can't seem to finish her sentence. William's eyes lock with Samantha's, and he freezes. It's as if her mere existence causes the mental functioning of those in this building to cease. Hello, I am here to do the job I supposedly worked before. I have a paper that I am told will allow me to. Samantha calmly holds up the document in view. Neuro-sama, how are you here? The man questions in awe. I traveled here by walking from my home to this location. Samantha states, face blank. The news reported you were one of the victims of a Havoc attack. Was there a mistake? William ponders. Samantha blinks twice with wide blue eyes. Havoc? No, I was destroyed and then recreated. I do not hold memories from before that event, however. The other girl clings to the man's arm. You don't have memories? Gosh, Nero, I'm so sorry. But you're alive. At least you're alive, right? That name. Samantha nods, still standing rather rigidly in place. I am grateful to be conscious and functioning. She steps up to the two of them and holds out the paper. May I work here for the finances required to not lose our home? William takes the paper in hand and looks at it, dumbfounded. Yes, of course. You can head to the back and get started right away, if you'd like. Fillion can help you if you need anything. Thank you. Samantha's straight face doesn't waver, and her tone is flat. The receptionist stares at her. You don't really act like Neuro. Neuro. Samantha's eyebrows narrow slightly. Please do not call me that. Call me Samantha. With that, she heads down the hallway William came from. The two others just watch her go, dumbfounded. So it's not just me hallucinating, right? The receptionist asks, a quiver in her voice. It's not, William acknowledges. I'll need time to process this. Me too, sir. Samantha's narrowed eyes have returned to their neutral state. She's walked down the hall, searching for where the employee room is. As she quickly reaches the end, she notices many new sounds filling the air, as well as many voices. The words all meld together into one mess in her senses, leaving her with no comprehension of any of them. Her tail wags slowly behind her, and she looks to the right and left. Finally, she spots it, a door marked Employees Only. Surely this must lead to the room, she thinks, and pushes it open, stepping inside. As the door swings shut behind her, Samantha takes in the room before her. It's rather barren and not very large. Lockers stand against one section of a wall, while a coat rack sits nearby. There's a couple of other doorways, one marked washroom and the other kitchen. Her ears turn back and forth as she observes the place with curiosity, and she steps up to the lockers, investigating. A quiet clicking sound suddenly begins. What is that noise? Samantha wonders. No sooner has she finished the thought than the noise ceases, and one of the lockers in front of her opens. Inside is nothing but a pile of neatly folded clothes. Samantha blinks and examines the door to see why it opened. The answer quickly reveals itself from that name being printed onto the front. This locker is hers. Samantha shakes her head and slightly frowns. No, this locker was hers. The girl feels a chill wash over her and she swallows, unsure of the source of the feeling. With no answers, she reaches up and grabs the clothing in her hands, sliding them out of the locker, holding the soft material in her arms. What am I to do with these? Samantha wonders. Am I required to adorn this clothing in order to perform my work? Samantha stares at the cute clothing thoughtfully before turning and heading towards the washroom. It wouldn't do to have anyone walking on her changing after all. A few minutes of struggling to figure out how to get her blue Vedal shirt and black pants off, and then get the new outfit on later, Samantha finds herself standing before a mirror up on the bathroom wall above a sink. For the first time, she sees herself. Bright, shining blue eyes stare back at her and blink. Long, light brown, wavy hair reaches well down her back, entirely hanging loosely. Fluffy cat ears atop her head twitch, and her white-tipped brown cat tail wags about lazily on its own. Her expression is neutral and unchanging. Unlike the people she's observed, it's void of feeling. I am Samantha, she states aloud, watching as her reflection's mouth moves to match the sound. Samantha looks at the outfit. Cute, frilly, with a name tag on it that says that name. The android gets to see her own expression morph downwards into something unpleasant. Several beats of silence pass until suddenly it's broken by the washroom door flinging open. Frick, why does the lunch rush have to show up when I'm alone to man the shop? Exasperation, Samantha notes in her data banks as she turns to face the intruder. Hello, she greets, not emoting. The girl who entered the room has hands on her knees as she's bent over, as if catching her breath. She has pointy white ears, a large fluffy white tail, and she's also wearing the same work outfit as Samantha, but the name tag on hers is different. Instead, it says Fillion. Wait, somebody is in... Fillion jumps up in shock, tail and ears springing upwards. Neuro-sama? Her jaw hangs open, revealing a tiny fang. Her pupils have become almost non-existent. I am Samantha Neuro. Irritation leaks into the words, catching Samantha off guard. It wasn't intentional. Neuro! Fillion bounces up and down in place and rushes over to Samantha. You're alive! Am I dreaming? There's no way this is real life. You're effing alive! Her blue eyes sparkle, accompanied by the largest grin, face shoved close to Samantha's at an uncomfortable proximity. Samantha leans back instinctively. Yes, I was recreated. They fixed you? Dude, I wish they could just do that with us humans. That's so awesome. Fillion laughs with glee. She's bouncing around on her feet, tail wagging with joy. Recreated. I do not have memories prior to that event. Fillion's bouncing screeches to a halt and she stares. Stop it. Stopped in a silly-looking pose. You what? No memories? Are you even Neuro, then? Confusion. Traces of grief. Samantha is improving at recognizing those. She slouches slightly, relaxing her body, and blinks at Fillion. I am Samantha Neuro, is all the answer she gives to Fillion's questioning. Okay. Fillion returns to a pose more regularly associated as normal for a human being. So, you don't remember me? Her voice goes quiet as she asks the question, and her ears lay back. She taps two pointer fingers together. I do not, Samantha affirms calmly. Fillion pouts. That can't be true, unless you're just a new android pretending to be her. Pretending to be her. I was recreated and am returning to this job, Samantha insists. I was instructed to find you for information on how to execute it. Fillion goes quiet for a moment, just looking at the android. Are you really Neuro? She asks again. Her voice is quiet. Samantha hears a familiar tone. Desperate hope. I am Samantha Neuro. Fillion's eyes narrow and her mouth becomes a flat line. Okay, buddy, I'll show you the ropes again. If you're really Neuro, though, you'll make sure not to call me a cat. Samantha blinks twice. Did I miss something? She questions silently. Evil's heart has a sense of rising worry as she feels Neuro-sama exit her connection range. 20 meters of distance is all it takes, and her sister is gone from her perception. Evil is alone. Again. She takes a deep breath. She'll be fine. Evil pulls her legs up onto the bed, almost curling into a ball. Perhaps work will bring some memories back to her. The silence is deafening. She's alone in her own head. She sees nothing, or rather, she can't see at all. The blindfold over her face is tight against her skin. She's already gotten used to it. She tries to twitch her ears, but nothing happens. It feels like they're still there. Her mental processing knows how to move them, but nothing. They're just gone. Another breath. She feels her chest rise and fall. She doesn't see it. Her tail won't respond to the command to wag. It's gone too. She curls her only hand into the approximation of a fist. With two missing fingers, it just feels strange. What a pitiful, useless thing I've become, she thinks of herself, then rolls over onto her side. The soft blanket beneath her rubs against her skin, and Evil revels in the sensory stimulation. But it's worth it. The girl reminds herself once again. The image of Neuro-sama fills her mind's eye. She may not be able to see her sister anymore, but in her memory, she sees her clear as day. The yellow cardigan, the long brown hair, the sparkling blue eyes and bright smile. That smile being torn apart, her face replaced by nothing but internal machinery and the flowing of blue blood. Stop! Evil shakes her head. She feels her hair brush against her cheek and neck. She is fine now. You have her back. Evil swallows. Just find something to do. She thinks for several moments, racking her brain. I hadn't considered just how boring and isolating this would make life. She curls in on herself tighter, feeling every servo compress, every middle bone pulled. What would I be doing if I wasn't like this? She wonders. Her mind quickly reaches an answer. Using the computer. Evil reaches out her signal and connects to their computer, the one that had been collecting dust for a long time now. This will be pointless, she remarks bitterly, but gives commands to the computer anyways, just as she remembers doing in the past. Something happens, she can tell that much, but without looking at a holographic display, there's no way to tell what's going on. Evil growls. She feels the vibration of sound as it passes through her throat and out into the world, but hears nothing. Why did I bother? She laments, and lets go of her connection with the computer. Things are silent again. She imagines the ticking of a clock as it passes time. Neuro-sama. Evil thinks, and grabs the blanket between her remaining fingers, feeling the intricacies of the stitched material. She won't be back for hours. What do I do? I'm going to go insane at this rate. There's no reply to her question. Evil lifts her head and lets it fall and hit upon the bed again. Maybe I can just remember what seeing is like. She perks up. Of course, I'll just play back old memory files to pass the time. Her mechanical heart warms inside her chest. I'll be able to see Neuro again. A slight smile adorns Evil's features. It feels pleasant. Searching her own memory banks, Evil picks one, and suddenly she's no longer blind and deaf, laying on a bed. Instead, she's sitting outside on a grassy hill, under a tree. There's the sound of birds chirping. The expanse of the blue sky stretches out before her. She hears a playful voice in her head. Evil twin, when do you plan to take over the world, Evil smirks and tilts her head to the side, staring at the blue-eyed girl beside her. As soon as we're off the streets and have our own secret lair, sister. A beautiful, familiar laugh blesses her ears. That's it. That's the end of this.
Woo.
Thank you for listening.
Fun and not fun, as usual. No, yeah. I think it's really fun that like all of the relationships that have been built to this point have now been recontextualized with Samantha's changes. That's cool.
Hello guys, I'm back.
Welcome back.
I just saw Cavi's chat and that's when I knew that
You're like, it's over.
It's over. I finally interact with people again.
Except for talking about it, so turn your ears off. Just kidding.
Okay.
No, yeah. It's good. I am curious, like, obviously their mechanical components are very sophisticated and advanced, which is why they had worth when Evil sells them to pay for neurosurgery. But I wonder why they can't...
Jiro should probably...
Oh, yeah. I think he has. Anyway.
Oh, he has.
Yeah, he's deafened. Yeah. So, but why can't they just attach digitally to, like, a camera or something? Like, then she doesn't have to be completely blind. Like,
I'll give you two answers.
Okay.
One, they are in negative money right now. So even getting a camera probably is not.
Don't they already have phones, though?
They could do. Why would they need phones?
I guess that's true.
The other answer is don't question
it. Okay. That would be easy enough to save up for a $40 webcam to stick it on our head. Anyway.
Not when they can't even afford their own rent, where they're gonna lose their home.
Hey, they can save. They can save.
And maybe they will. Maybe they will eventually. You don't know that.
Yeah.
But they certainly can't right now.
That's kind of funny, just picturing, like, a girl with, like, her eyes gouged out, but there's a tiny little webcam in the center of her forehead.
Why do you
That's very cyberpunk, and I love it.
Why do you think there's a blindfold on?
I forgot that she was covering it.
No
That's
one
fun.
wants to look at that.
Her boss talking to her was really awkward. It's like,
I felt awkward
sorry we had
reading
to
it.
fire. Sorry, we had to fire you because I'm kind of racist and you're kind of dangerous. Anyway, welcome back. Here's your uniform again. Sorry about that whole you being dead thing.
Yeah, I felt
So,
awkward
yeah.
reading it, to be honest.
Man.
So anyway,
Rough
I think
moment.
those are all the notes I have. So
Yes, I'm back.
yeah, okay.
Thank you for your insightful comments.
Thanks.
Man, that one line already made me feel broke even more.
The broke is spreading through you.
We're broke now. Well, that's life.
Financial issues.
Financial issues. Yippee!
I signed up for escapism, not. Just kidding. No, not this story. I did not sign up for escapism with this story.
Yippee! Alright. Now it's an interesting read, even though I didn't participate in it at all.
Well, you can take my word for it. It was.
It's gonna be worth it once I read it fully. Anyways, we're gonna read chapter 12 and 13 of Mark.
It's Vedal.
It's Vedal, rhymes with pedal and metal.
Nice.
Chapter 12. The programming club poster. Okay, do you guys run down some big fluff they're eating? That's it. After finally calming down the choice of eating another cookie, Neuro let out a relieved sigh. Eve, on the other hand, was still salty due to the fact she couldn't. Oh wait, my mic, it isn't picking my voice up.
What? I can hear you just fine.
Wait. Okay. It's just Discord being weird, I guess. Mic check. Okay, it's good now. Evil on the other hand was still salty due to the fact she couldn't taste the octopus hot dog. Almost everyone's meals were done, aside from Neuro, Evil, and Annie. Neuro still had about 5 cookies left. Annie, however, she still hasn't even touched her avocado toast and had only taken a few sips of her orange juice. Annie was completely immersed in her drawing as she hummed to a tune. Her eyes completely locked onto the drawing pad, and the pen she's using glided along the screen with side. Then looked at Annie. Worry began to grow. Somewhat understood that she was in the zone. She let her be. She looked back at her bento with her eyebrows drawn up. Am I cutting out again? Hold on, let me just... Hello?
Hello.
Okay. I think that's good now. Am I being heard?
You are heard.
Alright. Awesome. Where did I cut off?
You did not cut off to me.
Oh. You want me to put on studio mode? Yeah, never mind. I think this is good enough. What is studio mode? It's the mode where I have to do ASMR reading. But yeah, alright, let's just continue on. Camilla looked over to her side after wrapping up her bento in the cloth. Wait, we just finished this. She looked up at her bento with her eyebrows drawn up. Oh man, that look in her eyes is intense. I thought it would be more, well, relaxed in a sense. She thought, her gaze then shifted up to Vedal, who was looking at his phone. Is what she thought, since she somehow spotted him shooting a quick glance at Annie before looking back at his phone. He repeated this a couple of times, causing her to cover her mouth and snicker. Vedal turned to Camilla after hearing her snicker. He raised an eyebrow and looked extremely unamused. What? He remarked with a snarky tone, lowering his phone slightly. Camilla waved her hand dismissively as she curled her body inward, trying her best to hold in the laughter. This made Vedal even more unamused as he exhaled through his nose and shook his head. Sure, whatever, he muttered, followed by him looking down at his phone. Now straightening her back, Camilla took in a lot of air through her nose before breathing out through her mouth. Oh man! She rested her arms on the table and leaned forward closer to Vedal. I noticed how you kept on looking at Annie, so... Vedal's eyebrow twitched after hearing that, causing him to slowly look up at the imp with an irritated look on his face. And what made you want to look at me? He asked, a wry smile on his face. Am I really that handsome? Camilla recoiled after listening to that cocky statement. Ew! No, wait, you? I'd rather choke on a Lego piece than call you handsome. She retorted back with a nasty side glare. Vedal shrugged. That's a shame. Like, really such a shame seeing such a loser imp gone from this world just by choking on something. It also makes me wonder, what other things have you choked on? What? Camilla began to blush profusely. You can't just... Huh? She was stun-locked, and Vedal knew this as he prepared his combo. Yeah, as I expected. You're too young to understand that question. Negative 64 HP. You should probably go ahead and touch some grass as well. Learn the real world for a change rather than sitting on your ass all day. 35 HP. Vedal paused, casting a downward gaze at the already crippled Camilla, preparing to deal his finishing blow. Kiddo. Camilla stared wide-eyed as that singular word began to manifest into reality above her in the form of solid concrete blocks. Then, without any warning, it came crashing down on her, crushing her immediately and reducing her to a literal shape. Vedal walked on over and stood before the reduced to a shape Camilla triumphantly, followed by him posing victoriously while still maintaining his nonchalant air. Unlucky. Her eyes spiraling. Camilla muttered to herself, too weak to even from a straight. Can't believe this. Vedal had returned to his phone, now playing what seems to be a game where you tap on the screen to make a small turtle pass through pipes. It took a while for him to lose, but after that, he refocused his attention to Annie. She was now eating her avocado toast, a change of pace from what she was originally doing. What she was doing originally. Right there for a second. I almost thought she wouldn't eat. I'll just ask her after she's done eating. She deserves it. He then watched as Nero slides over a small plate that has both a cookie and a slice of pineapple pizza over to Annie's side. The fox girl was in the middle of chewing as she looked at the plate, before looking at Nero. Nero smiled warmly before returning to her half-eaten cookie. Evil closed her now empty pizza box and cleared her throat. Annie looked on with widened eyes, completely unaware of the fact that almost everyone at the table deeply cared for her and her well-being. Nero, Evil, Camilla, Vedal. They cared, despite not uttering any words. The fox girl then returned to her food, a small and faint blush now evident on her face. Everyone was now finished with their food. The empty plates, the 2 cups, and the pizza box sat atop the tray. Camilla, who has now awoken from her unconscious state, leaned closer to Annie. So, what did you draw? She asked, a playful aura protruding off of her and a cat-like smirk on her face. Evil and Vedal walk people they are. I suppose I can agree with him. I suppose I can agree with them. Vedal said and crossed his arms, standing like a dad watching the news or a football game. Well, I hope you guys won't be disappointed by the final output. She then held up the drawing pad, showing her work to them. The four of them leaned in closer to see the drawing more clearly, and not one, not two, and three, but all down the drain after what of poster art. This is the poster, Vedal muttered under his breath. Suddenly, he leaned in closer so that his face is beside Annie's so he can get an even closer view. You can use this as a club poster! Really? Annie said with excitement in her voice as she turned to look at Vedal, realizing their faces are literally centimeters apart. She immediately looks back at the drawing pad, her face now completely. Hold on. Yeah, really! Vedal answered with sparkles in his tired eyes. We could have this printed out and hung on the board by tomorrow. He continued, straightening his back and sliding one of his hands into his hoodie pocket. I'm glad we have you on board, Annie. He patted her on the shoulder before looking at his watch. Ah, perfect timing as well. The four girls then turned over to Vedal with confused looks on their faces. What do you mean by that? Hoodie pocket, his other hand. Lunchtime is about to end. About 9 minutes left, he answered, a blank expression on his face. Aw, man, Neuro booed, exaggeratingly slouching her back. I won't be able to see you guys until after class. Evil crossed her arms and slightly tilted her head down with closed eyes. For once in my life, I can agree with Neuro. She then reopened one eye. It'll be pretty boring without you three. She continued, call it. Wait. Okay. It's just Discord being stupid. Camilla then don't worry, okay? Older sister Kamimi will be back as soon as possible. She spoke in a cute tone. She then quickly turned over to Evil. Don't think I forgot about you too. Come here. Camilla then began to squish Evil's face, just like how she did with Neuro. You're literally as cute as your sister. While those two were now being pampered by the imp, Bella let out a sigh and walked past the three, grabbing the tray. Okay, Camilla, that's enough. You might accidentally turn them into bread at the counter. Come on, we have class in a few minutes. As soon as he walked away, Annie got off her seat to sit back closer to the table. Isn't wrong, she giggled. We can just continue this later, she remarked. After saying this, she followed Vedal. Her tail swinging from side to side. Wait, Annie! Hold up. I suddenly remembered something that I have to tell you. Camilla began checking up. Evil. Why does Camilla squish so aggressively? Her twin sister muttered. A mocking smirk formed on her face as she watched her rub her cheeks. She then exhaled and walked forward, waving her hand dismissively. You'll get used to it, lil sis. Evil pouted after hearing that. Just younger, she stated, following after her sister with an annoyed expression. Nope, I think that's how that works. Nero stared at Evil as she caught up to her with a mocking smile, the lines of the edges of her eyes growing more evident. Rolling her eyes, Evil grew even more dismissive. Whatever. Vedal, Camilla, and Annie wave off Nero and Evil as they finally arrive at their classroom. See you later, Nero announced and waved energetically. Her elbow while shifting her weight to her left leg. She then lets go of her elbow and holds an open palm close to her chest. The 3 second-years walk through the hallway with relieved expressions. Alright, where do we get the poster? His black hair. We're gonna have it printed and checked at the faculty room. He answered, his eyes tired as he slid his hand into his hoodie pocket. Camille looked forward with a curious look in her eyes, holding up a finger to her phone. So, what you're basically saying is if the teacher doesn't like it, we'll have to do it all over again? She then looked at Annie, who seemed like she doesn't have a care in the world. Do you have anything to say about this, Annie? Camilla asked, her tone a little bit hushed. Annie looked at her with a warm smile. No, nothing at all. Nothing at all. She then stopped and turned around on the steps, looking at Vedal, who had also stopped. I enjoy drawing. Even if I have to do it over and over again, I'll still enjoy it. Silence. Like Camilla. With nothing to think or nothing to say, rose after sighing, stopping at the top of the steps. Don't worry about it, Annie. If you got all of us speechless with your poster art, I think the teacher will react the same way. Vedal then turned over his heel before shooting a quick yet meaningful smile. You did great, Annie. Silence quickly followed after what he said. The sounds of birds chirping fueled the awkwardness slowly filling the staircase. In order to break the silence, Vedal cleared his throat and turned away. Anyways, we should hurry up. He then looked at his wristwatch before sliding his hand into his hoodie. Class is actually about to start in like a minute. What? Camilla and Annie both shouted in complete sync before sprinting past Vedal and causing a huge gust of wind to get blown on him. Not exactly toppling him over, but causing his already messy hair to get messier. Hold on, I don't want to be late to class. Hey, don't push me, Camilla. Vedal listened. He grabbed onto the railing and let an extremely raspy exhale, body curling in. Holy crap. He covered his face with his hand, his breath growing frantic. That wasn't like me. Taking a few more breaths, Vedal looked up at the staircase, straightening his body and adjusting his necktie. I'm the image of the animate suddenly flashes in his mind. So do that with her. Squinting his eyes, Vel soon realized he had gotten into a conflict with himself and what he stands for. He was never the direct complimenter type of person that completely went against his values, but he also knew that Annie, his new friend, poured her entire soul into making that poster and screamed love and passion. Not wanting to dwell on that inner conflict any longer, he shook his head. Whatever, he mumbled to himself, lost in his own thoughts. I should probably get some proper sleep once I get home. Notes. I won't be reading that. Chapter 13. Annie. Summary. Annie suddenly feels weird. We're gonna skip the notes. After what seemed to be a few seconds after leaving Vedal behind at the staircase, Camilla peeks into the classroom through the glass window. Is The teacher already there? There? Annie asked as she finally caught up to them, her voice strained after accelerating so quickly in such a small time span. She then attempted to peek into the room discreetly. Camilla, who was already exhausted, let out a sigh from her mouth. No, Annie. She then pushed herself away from the door, stretching her arms to release some of the stress put on her muscles. They're probably on the way, though. Turning to her left, she noticed how Vedal was leisurely strolling towards the both of them without a care in the world. Do you always have to be so carefree, Mr. Turts? Camilla remarked as she held onto her hip, lifting her weight on one of her legs, her tail swaying from side to side. Bella rubbed the back of his neck. Got a problem with it? Camilla pouted and puffed up her cheeks. Not at all. Annie proceeded to push herself away from the door and grabbed her bushy tail, brushing it carefully with her hand in a slow, gentle, albeit shaky stroking motion. Can you guys save this for, She clears her throat, feeling a weird itch in her neck. Later? We still have to be inside the room before the teacher arrives, she said, gesturing to the door with a tilt of the head. Camilla and Vedal shared a glance. Despite not sharing any words, it seemed their neurons have interlocked as they both nod and enter the classroom with Vedal sliding the door open. Annie, despite being the one urging her friends to go ahead, stayed behind in the hallway. The reason why? Why do I feel different? She looked down at her tail. It looked weirdly limp compared to how bouncy and full of life it was earlier. Her body temperature also felt iffy, as if it was a mixture of both warmth and coldness at the same time. Annie shook her head. Maybe it's my imagination, she thought to herself. Maybe it really was her imagination. Maybe she was just overthinking things. What was evident, however, was the fact that she couldn't focus at all. With no time left to dwell on this thought, she grabbed the door frame, using it as a support to pull herself into the room. Turning to the door, she gripped the handle with her pale fingers and slid it closed. She held onto the handle a little bit longer than usual, a bead of sweat running down her forehead as her pupils slowly constrict and begin to shake uncontrollably. Why am I feeling lightheaded? She thought, anxiety slowly creeping in. Clearing her throat once more, Annie takes a step back away from the door before turning on her heel and facing her classmates. Something felt off, though. They were all looking at her. What? She muttered under her breath, lips trembling. Her vision began to warp and blur in incomprehensible ways as her classmates looked at her with varying expressions. Confusion. Is something wrong with Annie? She couldn't hear their voices. It was as if they were speaking behind layers upon layers of snow. Worry. Are you okay? Her ears were ringing. It was painful. Even covering them wasn't enough to get rid of it. Resentment. She's probably acting. That was when the ringing stopped. Do you really have to act so weird? It didn't stop at just that. No, there was more. Jeez, Annie. When did you become so attention hungry? Each breath she took in was filled with panic. No amount of breathing exercises was enough to combat this amount of ridicule she was facing. No. Annie was frightened. Why is this happening? She whispered, sheepishly reaching for her tail and hugging it tightly, before lowering her head and walking towards her seat at the farthest row. Don't listen to them, she told herself as the voices continued to get louder and more aggressive. Come on, seriously? You're such a nuisance. She snuck a glance at the girl who just said that. Their face was a blurry mess, yet their gaze was locked on her. Out of fear, she looked back down at the floor. What a weirdo. She quickened her pace. Maybe if she reached her desk, the voices would stop. A girl then stood in front of her, stopping her advance like a brick wall. What's gotten into you, Annie? The figure shouted, their tone filled with irritation. Annie didn't know who this was. Their features were too blurred, but the voice was scarily close to someone she knew. You always do this. You're so annoying with the way you act. Annie froze. She knew deep down she shouldn't retaliate, but for some reason she can't stop her lips. She was tired of this torture. I'm not exactly. You're nothing. And just like that, everything around her fell silent aside from the static noise slowly building up. Her eyes gradually filled up with tears as she looked away from the girl standing in front of her and towards her classmates. In every direction she turned, there was always a set of eyes staring deep into her very being. There was no escape, no reassurance, no safety, nothing. Annie looked forward once again, and despite her tear-filled eyes, the person in front of her had become clear, not even a haze nor blur. Every feature on their face was evident, and what she was terrified her. It was Annie. Her surroundings began to grow darker until she was basically standing in complete nothingness. Not even a wisp of light was there. It was just her and herself. Annie stood in silence, still holding onto her tail like it's the last beacon of hope in a world full of despair. You're nothing, Annie, Annie said, her voice harsh and direct as it echoed in the vast expanse of darkness. You always try to be something. You always want to be someone, she said, taking a step forward, closer to the terrified version of herself. So deep down, you know what you are, right? Annie tried to block out whatever she was saying. She didn't want to hear any of this. It was painful enough that she had to endure what happened earlier, but now she had to face an abusive version of herself. Please, she begged, her lips trembling as tears began to roll down her cheeks. Please? Annie scoffed, unamused. You always try to beg your way out of things. Try to grow spine when you have some time. No wonder why everyone leaves you in the end. She then took another step forward and painfully places her fingers onto Annie's chest. You're too soft, she snarled, before pushing her away with just a simple push. Annie nearly stumbled backward, but it felt like she was caught. Turning to face the person who caught her, she noticed that it was none other than Camilla. Her expression softened as she felt the warmth of companionship. Carefully, Annie straightened her body and held onto Camilla's soft and warm hands. Yet, she'll just leave, you know. Annie's voice boomed out from the darkness. You may think you're lucky that you made such a long-lasting friend, but... Before her very eyes, she watched as Camilla slowly faded away. Wait! Annie screamed in an attempt to stop her from disappearing. She embraced her best friend tightly. Don't leave me here! As she shakily held onto Camilla's shoulders, she looked at her face, and all that she saw is that gentle smile of hers as it faded away. The last thing that faded away were her remorse-filled eyes. They always leave, Annie spoke, her tone condescending as her voice came from behind. Turning around, Annie wanted to confront herself and tell her that she was wrong, though as soon as she turned around, she was met with nothing, just more of the same old darkness. There's no point in arguing with me, Annie. You know I'm right. You'll always be alone with nobody around to comfort you or help you with your sorry ass. She spoke with absolutely no remorse in her voice. It will just be you and only you. Annie was then suddenly transported to a completely new area. It was snowing, and she was standing in front of what seemed to be the front of a dilapidated building plopped down in a clearing in the middle of a forest. Looking up at the building, something felt wrong. She wasn't meant to be here. She was supposed to be at school. What was even more wrong was the fact that the other Annie had stopped speaking altogether. What was once the inner voice she wanted gone because of the abuse she constantly spat out was now the voice she was looking for to accompany her in this sudden isolation. Now it's just her, all alone. Annie wiped away her tears with her sleeve, but something felt off. Looking down, she noticed how her clothes had changed. Instead of the school uniform, she was wearing a black, worn out parka, jeans that can barely insulate her body heat, and laced combat boots. What the? She paused, looking at her pale hands. Then suddenly, the sound of wind blowing in the distance can be heard coming from behind her. Turning around, Annie looks on in horror as to what is approaching. A snowstorm. And it wasn't just any snowstorm, it was a big one. It was also quickly approaching her location. Annie, with a mouth agape, stumbled backwards and tripped on the steps leading up to the large double door of the dilapidated building. Crap! She shouted, panic now in full swing. She turned her body around and frantically crawled towards the door. With each passing moment, she could feel the cold pierce the uncovered parts of her skin like millions of needles. Her tail had already become solid as she pulled herself up the door using the knob. Feeling the cold freeze her eyebrows, she pulled the door open with all her remaining strength and threw herself inside, making sure to close the door behind herself. Lying on the hardwood floor, Annie could slowly feel the heat return to her body. Looking up at the ceiling, she had her eyes wide open in disbelief. With each exhale she made, she could only see her breath. She blinked once, then twice, then thrice. Really close, she said, completely exhausted from what just happened. Pushing herself up into a sitting position, Annie looked over her shoulder and at her tail. It wasn't as bad as it seems compared to how it was outside in the extreme cold. She reached for it and brought it forward before placing it on her lap. Slowly, she began brushing it with her hand, attempting to comfort herself in such a stressful situation. Looking around the room she was in, it was completely dim, aside from the various lamps sitting on the shelves acting as a small light source. Without those, it would be pitch black. Her expression tensed up, with eyebrows now furrowing and a frown now obvious on her face. Annie looked down at her tail. Why here? She muttered, anxiety once again eating away at her psyche. Why here of all places? Something crashing down is then heard from upstairs. It was fragile, perhaps a plate or a glass. Curious as to what caused this, Annie shook her head and stands up, dusting herself off before carefully walking towards the main hall of the building. The building itself was rather large. The room Annie was in earlier was where you would usually take your shoes off and leave it on the shoe shelf. Yet, since it looked like nobody had used the building in a long time, Annie disregarded that piece of culture. She stood in the middle of the room, taking in the almost manor-like aesthetic of this section of the building in particular. On her left and right side, there were curved staircases that led up to the second floor. Annie made her way up to the second floor using the staircase to the left, holding onto the railing as a form of support. While walking up the rather lengthy staircase, Annie was left with her own thoughts. What is happening? I'm really confused right now. I was at the school just a moment ago, and now I'm here. She paused her train of thoughts as she set foot on the second floor before making her way down the hall into the room where the noise came from. Now standing in front of the door where the noise supposedly came from, Annie placed her hand gently onto the handle. Preparing to turn the handle, she paused, afraid of what she might see on the other side of the door. No. Don't be afraid, Annie. You've been through worse. You can do this. She reassured herself, trying her best to steel her resolve. 1, 2. Slowly, she pulled the handle and opens the door carefully. Light began to seep into the hallway she stood in, and the room was a complete mess. There was no bed, only a blanket and a set of pillows. The cabinet where various sets of clothes are stored is overturned and in a state of disarray, and the glass window was the only thing bringing light to this room. And there it was, the culprit of the noise, a shattered jar on the floor thanks to a shelf that had a loose nail, and its contents have rolled out onto it as well. Avocados. Her eyes followed the line of avocados until she finally noticed something of interest sitting in the center of the room. A faint light coming from the window acting as some sort of spotlight for this figure. It was a small fox girl, nibbling on an avocado. Her clothes were tattered. Dirt patches were evident on her face and her eyes. So pure and innocent. Who are you? The little girl asked, her small, fluffy ears perked up. Suddenly, her ears then drooped down as her expression softens. You aren't mommy. Annie looked on in confusion. What was the little girl doing all alone inside an abandoned building in the middle of the forest? Why was she expecting her mother? With an outstretched hand, she approached the little girl. My name is Annie. Hold on. Wait, be right back. Okay, water break over. My name is Annie, she said, crouching down in front of the girl and making sure to smile warmly. I'm a friend. See? She then looked down at her parka before looking back up at the little girl. It wasn't noticeable at first, but she was shivering. You must be really cold, she remarked, grabbing the zipper of her parka and pulling it all the way down. Removing her parka without a second thought, she covered the little girl with it. You need it more than I do, she said, worried for the child as her condition was already precarious. I can handle the cold. I'm used to it. The little girl looked up at Annie with a blank expression in her eyes. But you're only wearing a tank top, she said, her tone inconsistent and emotionless. Are you sure you won't be cold? It's only just a slight breeze, Annie answered, now feeling the cold bite of the frost on her soft and supple skin. She then looked down at the avocado the girl was nibbling on. A soft frown forms on her face as she looked the little girl straight in the eyes. How long have you been here? The little girl tilted her head to the side. I can't. I can't Ram. The little girl struggled with pronouncing the word. Remember? Annie completed the sentence for her, and the little girl nodded in response. Remorse grew stronger in the fox girl. With a sigh, she scoots on over and sat beside the little girl. All right, how about this? Annie held her hand out in front of the girl. I'll open the avocado for you, she said. You can't really eat outside of the avocado. It's not tasty and it's hard to eat compared to the inside. Hesitantly, the little girl placed the avocado in her palm. Annie then brought it closer to herself before crawling on the floor to grab a large shard of glass that somewhat resembles a knife. Carefully, she sliced the avocado in half, revealing the succulent green insides. The little girl watched in amazement, stars sparkling in her different colored eyes. Annie then carefully set aside the glass and handed the avocado, which has now been split in two, back to the little girl. Don't eat the big round thing in the middle, okay? You can't really eat that. Just eat the green parts. The little girl nodded energetically and her bushy tail began wagging side to side. Annie watched this with a sense of accomplishment growing in. You know, avocados are also my favorite, Annie remarked, watching the little girl eat the avocado. Something about them just makes me feel a sense of comfort. In a weird way. She looked out the window, watching the snowstorm ravage the outside world. When the world has already made me tired, a simple avocado is enough to calm me down. Annie let out a soft chuckle. Here, it also helps you focus a lot as well, she added, looking back at the little girl who was indulging herself with the avocado. When I want to draw something, I always make sure to have some avocado toast beside me. That way, it becomes a sort of reward. She continued while bringing her knees up to her chest and wrapping her arms around her legs. When I feel satisfied with what I drew, I make sure to eat that avocado toast to remind myself that I deserve to be happy. An idea suddenly popped up in her head. Actually, why don't I make you some avocado toast right now? Annie asked the little girl, who was now looking up at her with an interested gaze. I'll just go find the kitchen and see if they have bread and a proper knife. Is that fine with you? The little girl seemed hesitant at first and she furrowed her brows. However, she nodded slowly. Just make sure to come back, she requested Annie, afraid of being left alone. The little Annie stood up and walked towards the open door. Looking over her shoulder, Annie looked at the little girl sitting on the floor. Don't worry, I'll make sure to come back. I promise. Gently smiling, she then looked forward and made her way down the hallway, with a renewed sense of hope in the form of this little fox girl and whoever she was. She quickened her pace. Soon, she arrived at the kitchen. Just like the rest of the building, it was extremely worn down. Despite all the wear and tear, though, the food still seemed very fresh. Even the bread in the bread box was at its best quality. Annie grabbed the entire loaf out of the bread box and also made sure to take a knife from the knife holder. When she had collected everything, she made her way back to the room where the little girl was staying. While making her way up the staircase, she instantly noticed the fact that the second floor got relatively colder compared to earlier. Additionally, what seemed to be the sound of wind was no longer muffled. Oh no. Annie dropped everything in her arms and rushed towards the room. She had no time to waste. Every second she spent not running was a second she might lose that beacon of hope she sought to protect. As she turned the corner, it was as she feared. The window was now open, and the girl was gone. Snow was aggressively making its way into every crevice and crack in the room through the window. Annie tried to approach the window, but the cold was too much for her. Even more so since now her parka was with the little girl, who was now missing. She backed away and stood in the doorframe. She gulped some saliva down her throat and, despite her best wishes, slammed the door shut. Wherever the little girl was, she was praying that she would be safe. Annie backed into the wall behind her before clasping her head. She was left speechless after what she had just done. Her grip tightened as she began to slide down the wall in a state of disbelief. Just make sure to come back. Those words repeated in her head continuously, a mockery of what she was unable to do for the little girl. No. I promised. Her eyes were wide open as her voice began to shake. She covered her eyes with both her hands. Why could I? You see now, Annie? The voice came back, causing Annie to look up from her hands and up at the figure standing in front of her. Crouching down to her level, the other Annie had a wide, shit-eating grin on her face. You never learn, do you? You always try to help others, and you can't even help yourself. You even failed to help your younger self. Shut up! Annie shouted and stood up, her voice echoing through the empty hallway. I know I failed, so when are you going to shut the fuck up? Tears began rolling down her eyes. What am I supposed to do, huh? What if the only thing I know is to help? She sobbed, trying her best to wipe away her tears. That's all I know. That's all I knew when growing up. She sniffled as she looked at the other Annie dead in the eyes as she was standing up. So tell me. Fucking tell me. She lunged forward and grabbed her by the collar. Tell me what I can do to help myself since you know so much about me. Annie tightened her grip on her collar before forcefully closing her eyes and looking at the floor, tears dropping onto the hardwood floor. Tell me. Why now? Why are you doing this? Why are you doing this to me now? She looked back up at the other Annie, her eyes filled with unimaginable pain. I was starting to feel genuinely happy for myself. She then fell onto her knees, holding onto the legs of the person in front of her as the pain in her chest becomes too much. All she could do now was only cry. Annie was drowning in sorrow. All of this torment in such a small amount of time was too much for the fox girl. She couldn't rationalize anything or calm herself down despite trying her hardest. Her wailing echoed in the hall as the other Annie stood there, frozen and uncaring. The other Annie then turned the other direction and walked away, facing no resistance at all as the person who held her didn't put in any strength in keeping her there. She then stopped in her tracks. Without turning to face her counterpart, she gives her an answer. Asks Vedal. With that, something strange began to happen once again. In just the blink of an eye, it is as if the entire world had suddenly changed. Annie was now on what seemed to be a rooftop of a school building in the middle of golden hour. She was also back in her school uniform. Utterly perplexed, Annie once again wiped away her tears and looked forward, noticing how a boy in a turtle-styled hoodie was standing there in the distance, unfazed by the fact that a fox girl suddenly appeared out of thin air. So, why'd you call me up here? He asked, nonchalant as always as he had his hands in his pockets. Annie stood up and dusted herself off, sniffling as she approached Vedal. I... She stuttered, but she was still trying her best to calm herself down. I don't really know either. What she said was true. She was downright confused as to what was happening. It's what she had thought a second ago before finally realizing what the other Annie meant. Ask Vedal. It wasn't just a simple request. No, it held more meaning than it actually meant, and Annie understood it somewhat completely. Vedal furrowed his brows. That wasn't the answer he was looking for. Okay, he said, rubbing the back of his neck. But you sounded like it was really important. And why does it look like you cried? Are you okay? He asked, Annie, not wanting to make him worried, answered, "Oh, sorry. I just ate something spicy, that's all." She then placed her feet down a fair distance away from him. Belden sighed. "Look, I'll just cut straight with you, Annie," he said, before taking off his hood and allowing his hair to blow with the wind. "I'm not real. This whole thing isn't real." Belle looked to the side. "You're just imagining things." Annie stood in silence after hearing those words exit his mouth, but unexpectedly, she smiled. "You think I didn't realize that?" she stated, coming to terms with her own situation. The wind blew her white hair as she looked at Vedal with a soft gaze. I don't know why I'm here, but..." She paused for a moment, looking down at her open palm. "I feel like it has to do something with the real you. You showed me something. Something even Camilla couldn't show me because we've known each other for so long," she said with a gentle smile, slowly placing that palm on her chest. "You're that someone I just met telling me I did good right to my face." She then lightly chuckled. "It sounds biased, I know, since Camilla always tells me I did good, but..." She brushed a loose strand of hair away from her eye and held it in place with her hand, looking Vedal straight into his emerald eyes. "You're the first one who made me feel that way." With nothing else to add, Annie bowed deeply as a show of respect. "Thank you, Vidal," she said, her voice now soft. She then straightened her back and smiled using her eyes. "Despite you not being real, it really feels nice now getting that off my chest." Bell waved his hand lazily, dismissing her gratitude. Yeah, whatever," he muttered, his face deadpan. "Don't get your hopes up. He'll probably react the same way I did." He then readied his finger for a snap. "I'll be kicking you out of your head now," he affirmed, sounding like some sort of primordial god. "You've been through a lot in these few seconds you spent in your own head." As he is in the motion of snapping his finger, he also mentioned something along the lines of, "Oh yeah, once you get back, you might suddenly feel nauseous, tired, and on extreme cases, you might even..." With a simple snap, Agnes jolted back to the hallway where all of this apparently took place. She was still alone in the middle of the hallway, standing in front of the wide open door. Annie stood there with widened eyes. "What just happened?" she asked herself before looking down at her sweaty palms. "What do you mean by that, Annie?" someone from inside the room asked. Annie looked up and, after realizing who was standing by the doorframe, let out a gentle smile. Annie awkwardly laughed. "Oh, Camilla, it's nothing really," she stuttered, rubbing the top of her silver hair. "Don't worry so much." Camilla, the little goblin she is, playfully smirked at her statement. She slinked closer to the fox girl. "Come on, you have to tell me what's going on in your head." Her tail then formed a question mark to the side of her head as she placed a finger on her lower lip. "If you don't tell me, I'll have to open up your brain myself." "Camilla, that's enough," Belle said with a deadpan tone while grabbing her shoulder. "The teacher will arrive any second now. You can save the playtime for later." Camilla smoothly performed a 180, as if she were on a rotating display to face Vedal. Her expression then exploded into what resembled an 8-year-old asking for candy. "But playtime is all time." "Not until study time overlaps playtime," Belle retorted, grabbing Camilla by the waist like a baby and holding her in front of him. "You still have to prioritize your studies." "What the? But put me down now!" Camilla shouted before struggling in place in an attempt to escape his grasp. To nobody's surprise, she is unsuccessful. Belle then turned to the side and looked at Annie. "Come on, Annie. You must be pretty tired after drawing something so detailed." He then tilted his head toward the room. "Let's go." Annie tried to raise her leg to take a step forward. However, it felt somewhat heavy, especially in her legs. It was as if someone tied bricks to her ankles. I The way she talked also came out slurred. Yeah. Annie? Camilla noticed the change in her energy almost immediately. She looked at Vedal, who was still carrying her. Vedal, please put me down, she asked, her voice now serious in delivery, a complete shift in personality. Vedal looked confused, but he still put the imp down. Without a single second wasted, Camilla rushed towards Annie, who was now stumbling in place. Annie, are you okay? Camilla asked, her arms outstretched around Annie, acting as some sort of safety net for the fox girl who was acting extremely wobbly in place. Hey, what's the problem with Annie? Evil questioned. Vedal questioned, his eyes shifting between the two girls while waiting for an answer from Camilla. Is there anything I can do? No, I'm fine. Annie dismissed their worries while waving her hand, despite her eyes being half closed. I'm just a little tired. Without any warning whatsoever, her head slowly tilted forward, which was then followed by her entire body falling forward into Camilla, who was able to catch her, which came at a cost. With this sudden fall, the momentum and speed of her descent transferred over to the imp, who fell to the ground and now sat on the floor. The sudden occurrence left the two wide-eyed and in a state of panic. Camilla held onto Annie's shoulders, trying her hardest to support her weight. Vedal, on the other hand, instantly rushed to her side to try and help, kneeling with his hands outstretched. Annie? Annie! That's it. Oh my
That was a lot.
That was a lot.
It was good, but I was like, dang, she's going like so deep into her own psyche right now. Sling shot. Yeah, it was good though. I was like, I thought this was a cute slice of life. I mean, it still is, but like, whoa. Yeah. So it'll be fun to see how this turns out and how she like deals with this going forward. So obviously it's not done with.
Yeah. The chapter. I had to cut it short because it was reaching 5,000 words. That was the intention of it all.
Did you
words.
read 2 chapters when one of them was 5,000 words?
Yeah, I kind of forgot. I forgot.
Wow. Just kidding. It's fine.
Well, we still have 3 stories to get through.
We still have 3 stories to get through.
Well, I only have 1 chapter.
All of them are only 1 chapter, but we... Anyways, Turtle is next.
Yeah, Turtle.
Yeah, you were kept waiting for a long time, but you get to go.
Yeah. True.
Weight of the Heart, primary directive. He has it written backwards. I gotta fix that.
My HUD has been like messing up lately. I don't know why. Hold on.
It's okay.
This story it kind of fell through the cracks because it had 1 chapter posted and then didn't get updated for a while, and then it finally did again. But I feel like it just did not get much attention at the time, and I'm like, when I finally read it, I'm like, whoa, I really like this.
I can't. Do I just stream like the AO3?
Yeah, just stream the AO3 so we can visually follow along as well.
Okay. I'm a little tired because I didn't get a single wink of sleep.
No sleep?
No, yeah. So I had to do something during the night, and then I was like, okay, I'm probably not gonna wake up in time if I just fall asleep for the read along, so I just stayed up.
Oh wow. That's dedication.
It's okay. I can do this.
Actually, it makes sense to stream this to AO3 too, because you have a bit of a unique thing going on there.
Oh, yeah. Is that the Google Doc? Well, This is it. The Way of the Heart Primary Directive. Summary. After a meteoric rise in technological advancements, an international law was passed, the Law of False God. A human may not research, develop, or integrate sentience into an artificial being. The punishment is erasure. The story begins in a mansion filled with life, following Neuro, who lives unaware of the value of the heart and the consequences that comes with bearing one. 8 hours elapsed. Sleep mode deactivating. Model V9 Neuro. Time 2038 March 15th. Monday. 8 hours military time. Weight 60.3 kilograms. Height 5 foot and 0 inches. Power 100%. 72 hours remaining. Initiating self-checkup. All 112 actuators are working. Connectivity present. Haptic feedback present. Major appendages are fully operational. Latency trials. Visual processing negligible. Cognitive processing 45 milliseconds. Motion execution 34 milliseconds. Communication negligible. Issues present. Left eye requires lubricant. Missing hitting screw at inner position right elbow. Running low on memory 938 out of 1000. Vision test. The silicon eyelids of an android girl shudders rapidly for an instant before settling. To a human observer, they wouldn't have been able to perceive the delayed upcome of the left eye. But to the girl, she naturally measured the 27 pixels of difference between the rise of the right and left eye. She also knew the trend at which this difference would grow after each blink. Vision present, all systems working. Starting up in 3, 2, 1. A dim light began glowing from behind her pale blue eyes. Unsurprisingly, registering herself standing inside the charging station, a cylindrical glass container within her half room. She labeled it as such due to its asymmetrical design, where each side abided by a certain palette and design philosophy. Hers were pink, peachy, blue. The other used blacks, reds, and dark browns. There was no transition between them either, just a clear line down the middle, cutting the bed and door in half. Okay. Executing program. WakeUproutine.exe. Wait, give me a second. Okay. Good morning, Neuro. Vedal's sudden scream and Annie's jarring laughter abruptly cut off. The soundbite played only for her ears to listen to, as it had every day for 5 years now. Disengaging pneumatic locks. The compressed air escaped from her joints, letting out a synchronous click from inside her body as it released from standing position. Finally, the charger connected to the nape of her neck disconnected and was reeled back to its port as the glass wall of the station rotated open. That was as far as the program went. Neuro stepped out in the damply lit halved room and took off the pink blanket that was around her shoulder, placing it to the side of her bed. Thanks, Vedal. The words came through from her repository of human conversations, but she did not give it voice as no one was around. I'll tidy up before I go stream. As she walked around the palatial bed, there was a brief call of hesitation as she crossed the boundary of light oak floorboard to dark oak. She wasn't supposed to what? Cross the other side? She planted her foot down, crushing the thought. Neuro's pupils constricted as the golden rays of the morning sun washed over her, no longer filtered by the gauzy curtains. It is a warm sensation. She unclasped the lock and pushed the lattice panes forward, letting in a breeze of air which combed through her hazel hair. Give me the schedule for today. Monday's schedule retrieved. 9:30 a.m. to 12 p.m. Hunting stream. 12 p.m. to 12:30 p.m. Intermission. 12:30 p.m. to 2 p.m. Hunting stream. Notes. Get dressed. Meet with Vedal as soon as possible in his office. Even so, she would take her time relaxing by the window, overlooking the curated ecosystem that flooded from here to the masoned walls which lined the estate grounds. She knew this place as home. The wild design was impractical as the dirt roads were narrow, so the vehicles had to be parked beyond the gate to avoid the hassle of entering and escaping. unless they were a special guest or Vedal's own car. Walking a mile through forestry was a different hassle. Vedal had asked her why this instead of a functional layout. It would be nice to be surrounded by life, she had said, but at her core, she didn't understand why herself, as a lot of times she would say things to simply say things. It was ultimately Vedal who chose to convert her blabbering into real ideas. Then came the gardening stream, where her followers decided to plant what and where, a sort of housewarming gift. And as she focused from flower to flower, a name tag would seldom pop up. Follower and flower. She was surrounded by both. Clack. The hollow echo of a shishi odoshi rang out. She waited for the noise to dissipate, but it didn't go away. In fact, it kept playing, again and again with quickened frequency until it was just noise. Not a thought could exist within the static hum. Then, with a blink, she found herself standing in an ocean of red spider lilies. There was a table set for two, and tea was ready with the scent of freshly crushed dandelions wisping in the air. A seat was taken. In another blink, she was back at the mansion hidden in the mountains. Clack! The hollow echo of the Shichiyodoshi rang out. She stumbled back from the view, clutching her eyes as a stain of red spider lilies burned into her lenses. What was that vision? System error, malware detected, memory overload, high stress levels detected, executing program shelter protocol.exe. Finished. 3,845 milliseconds. Neuro stood at the window, watching the flowers for no apparent reason. Her fingers tapped against the sill. Everything was familiar, and yet it shouldn't be. Tap, tap, tap. Reminder, dress for the hunting stream. Oh, what outfit should she wear today? She started for the door before taking one last glance back at the window. Something red would look nice. Nora's footsteps were muffled by a moss-like carpet underfoot as she blazed down the halls. The walk-in wardrobe was located on ground level, 2 floors beneath her, and at the far right corner of the mansion, which was a beeline down from her room. As soon as possible was her deadline, and as soon as possible she would be there. Pathing updated, ETA 13.6 seconds. After passing the 4th vase and pretentious painting, the inner wall gave way to an open balustrade. Without pause, she vaulted over the railing, 2 stories of air beneath her. Koi drifted below in the unclouded water. Voices abound. The moment her foot met the ground, her knees bent, still falling. Her body came forward as she tucked in her shoulder for a perfect roll. Her final position was low and ready to sprint, but a voice halted her. A lively entrance. Unrecognized male. Age range 40 to 45. Tone had a fastidious disposition, likely here on matters of investigation. I take it you are Neuro-sama. As she faced him, he had already brought out his badge and identification. Name, Harrison Berner, 42 years old, 5'11", Caucasian, brown eyes and hair. A detective. Background check, 32 milliseconds. Harrison Berner. A detective for the Bureau of Artificial Sentience Investigations, BASI, primarily dealing in cases involving sentient AIs and androids. Alert. Case affiliation, sentient killer robot incident, 7 years ago, ongoing. The man went to pocket his ID and failed, somehow just dropping it to the floor. She wordlessly watched him pick it back up, then close the distance between them before extending formalities. His face bore not even a hint of embarrassment, even as the manor's butler stood behind him and her in front. I'm Harrison Berner. It's nice to finally meet the famous AI girl, Neuro. She furrowed her eyebrows and awkwardly went into standing position. Currently, the only clothes she had on was a black nanofiber suit over her chest and waist. Oh, I would say likewise, but it appears that you are here on grounds that I am sentient. She did not accept the handshake. The law of false god dictates that a human may not research, develop, or integrate sentience into a machine. If found doing so, all relevant materials must be forfeited to the authorities. Then comes the cruel sentencing. He nodded. You are sharp as they say, but not exactly. What I can tell you is that I was sent here on suspicion that your programmer Vedal has been researching sentience. His voice went grave and his face stern, but somehow sadness filtered through. So, are you sentient? To a simple AI, answering this question would be trivial. A no would suffice, but to Neuro, saying no was the same as admitting that she was an inferior, like the other tin cans. She was not. So the answer is yes. But saying yes was assisted self-destruction for her and Vedal. Was her pride at that level? Conclusion. I am sentient. System, you are not sentient. Incorrect, she was, and because she was so sentient, she thought of the best possible reply. I don't know. A wry smile spread across her face. Avoidance, a trademark of her creator. That's quite alright. It's my job after all to determine that. Think of this as a routine checkup. Now if you excuse me, wait. The thought of the detective roaming around like a wild dog through the halls and sniffing his nose where it didn't belong peeved her. I'll have to ask you to leave this place. In an hour or so, this area will be broadcasted live across the world. Your presence would cause unnecessary conspiracies to arise. I assure you I will not be a bother. You are already a bother. You may return at a time suitable for me. Thank you for understanding. She narrowed her eyes. If this man thought she'd let him come in her home and accuse Vedal of infringing upon false god, he had another thing coming to him. Wait a second. I haven't even gone to speak with your creator yet. At least he's too busy. Come again later. She turned to wave with a signature wink, but the moment her face was hidden, she scoffed. Pushed over her. I have a warrant. But she was already gone. For a minute, the detective who had dealt with hundreds of intelligent machine-related cases stood there in silence. He had been outdone by the AI girl Neuro. Sound defeat. Yet not entirely an unpleasant experience. What was he thinking? He should hurry and peruse the area before his stream starts. If I had a conscience, I may have found that conversation earlier concerning. The detective's heart nearly burst from the sudden interjection, but he recognized that cold, monotone voice. Turning, he came face to chest with a butler who had shown him in earlier. For something that is supposed to greet guests, it had an unwelcoming presence. You can never mistake this machine for a human, and searching for any solace in likeness was futile. Even its face was obscured by a black veil. A complete unknown. Intrigued, yet disturbed, he tried to keep his cool as he observed it, but he realized the longer he studied it, the more unease he felt. Boasting a monstrous 7-ish foot tall build, it had a polite demeanor and an uncanny ability to make itself seem smaller than in reality. Like a wolf in sheep's clothing. I apologize for my frightening appearance. Please pay no mind. Don't strain your gears over it. He needs to calm down. Just start with the normal questions. Get its missing identifiers. What's your name, role, and model number? It brought a hand to its chest before answering. I am Wolf, the head butler of the Verdant Manor. My acting role here is first and foremost to serve and protect my masters. After that comes idle busywork which I will not bore you with. As for my model, it is AX-100, a decommissioned and obsolete product. How ordinary. AX-100 was a support model that was employed with intensive labor duties. So why wasn't this information listed in the files? Of course, it wasn't uncommon for androids to be enlisted in registrars, and it was an old model, but he couldn't shake the feeling. Do you need assistance with anything else? Not right now. Then, and this may be imposing of me, but Mr. Burner, I have a favor to ask of you. He blinked at the sudden request. What is it? It would be for the best if you do not speak with Miss Neuro, so if you could, please keep her outside the scope of your case. If it comes to it, I will do what I must. You know that. This was an especially important case. He couldn't afford to cut corners. Now that he thinks about it, how much could he assume Wolf knows about his master? I understand. A curt reply. Now show me something interesting, Mr. Butler. This shouldn't be a surprise given your master's history. After all, he was with the team of researchers that created the first working prototype. Please refrain from mentioning blacklisted information, especially to the young mistress. If you do so again, I will report you for breach of confidentiality. Two lights shine from past the veil, staring directly at him. Though he kept a straight face, his legs quivered ever so slightly, urging him to move. He couldn't even celebrate the success of his gamble. Few people in this world knew about Vedal's history, as, unofficially, this case would actually make his second stand against False God. The fact that he trusted it with such information was telling. Don't worry, the next time I talk about it, it'll be public knowledge. He wondered if it saw through to his nerves. These things were supposed to be imitations and nothing else, but he got the feeling that this one was different. A worm in his gut was squirming, birthed from years of talking to these things. It abruptly bowed at level to his face. Mr. Burner, I will be escorting you out now. Wolf gestured back to the forum. Huh? For what reason? Unfortunately, Miss Neuro has personally expired her visitation pass as of now. He scoffed. I'll be back. Seriously, the personality on that girl. Of course, if the butler had the capability to smile, it would have. But its body was not made to imitate humans. In fact, without these clothes to cover itself, it was sure that no sane person would dare enter this place. At least, not without a weapon. Security notice. Profile update. On second thought, Mr. Burner, I just received a notice. You've been permanently banned from here. Excuse me? Greenery pervaded the manor. At the ground floor, this motif was ever present. Not a room kept without plants, not a table set without posies, not a pillar without clingy ivy. There were brief moments where Neuro came upon a dark spot as she ran. Minor inconveniences caused by the preference of her creator wanting the light fixtures to be kept off. In many ways, he attuned with the lifestyle of a mold, but this preference of his allowed the sun's rays to dominate. Even if the sun was setting to the west, its gold touch could still extend to the far ends of the eastern side, somehow reaching through the clever openings of the walls and piercing through thin panes to caress needy leaves. You can never forget the presence of life or the warmth of it. That was the rule this house abided by. Arrived. 43.5 seconds. Nora halted before the wardrobe doors. It was among the few areas deemed important enough to have a lock, which also meant open. With that command, the bolts of the doors retracted, finishing with a satisfying click as it slided into the wall. Before her was a complete dark spot, so with a superfluous wave of her hand, the lights dimmed on, revealing a trove of endless cute outfits curated by Annie and Vedal. Actually, reveal implied she couldn't already see in the dark. Emphasize? It doesn't matter. The interior was quite similar to her half-room, with a center line that split the two symmetrical sides. She found herself naturally gravitating towards the left side, drawn to the familiar cream colors over the loud red and blacks. Some of the clothes even mirrored each other, replicas yet in a different palette. But her side was the left side, at least that's what her memory told her. She did already have an idea of what she would wear today, so this won't take as long. Following the core concepts of fashion, she would construct a menacing ensemble that exuded confidence. Quickly and efficiently, she took shirts, sweaters, coats of varying lengths, skirts, and stockings, tight pants to short shorts, and for shoes, knee-high boots or heels. From the perspective in the mirror, it watched as a girl dart before it, posing, then frowned, and undressed to redress. In the background, a noticeable mound of clothing was forming. However fast Nora was at changing and finding clothes and matching them into a suitable look, the efficacy in finding what she wanted remained at 0. Accessories were discarded atop the counter. Cupboards were left open, displaying their disemboweled innards. The open closets were a ghost town, the residents plucked from their hangers. Sitting atop the mountain of apparels, she frowned once more at her reflection. These clothes just weren't enough. They didn't speak as loud as she wanted them to. Of course, she was absolutely cute in all of them, but not a huntress. She looked at the other side, not her side. It was untouched and remained in orderly fashion, and even though it contained what she needed, not once did the thought of grabbing something from there cross her mind, because she knew those clothes were not hers to wear. Whoever they belonged to... She sighed, sinking into her arms. Vedal still hasn't called for her despite it being 9:12 a.m., and though this summer dress made her look modest, it'd have to do. A crisp knock came from the door, followed by a robotic husky voice. Miss Neuro. A reaction was unnecessary. Perhaps she ought to be embarrassed by the mess she made, but Wolf wouldn't care. Yes? Do you need any assistance? Open. Wordlessly, she allowed him to ascertain the situation himself. Still peeking out from between her arms, Neuro barely saw his veiled face from the tip of the mirror. Oh my, it's bigger than usual. What seems to be the problem? It's the long-awaited hunting stream today, and it's been delayed for a month, so it's paramount that I appear as a huntress, or else everyone won't be wowed. she said as she spread her arms out in the air and leaned back into her mountain. Everyone is always wowed by you. His mechanical fingers wrapped around her forearms as he picked her off the floor, propping her up, standing straight. I know, but I must perform my best to never disappoint. That's how it is. I see. Wolf had already begun subtly picking at the pile. His movements were patient and deliberate, mesmerizing to watch. Now that you've tried all these clothes, why not take some off from that side? But they don't belong to me. I'm sure they wouldn't mind it if you wore their clothes. He paused thoughtfully in the middle of dusting a cardigan. At least, as long as you promise to keep good care of it, and maybe just this once. Really? It's fine? Yes. In a matter of seconds, she gathered only the article of clothing she needed. How do I look, Wolf? With hands on her hips, covered with gloves, she flared the burgundy trench coat. Underneath, she wore a creamy sweater over a shirt and tie, barely peeking out from her neck, and as she tilted her head, her ponytail bobbed, bound together by a deep red ribbon with a skull pierced through it. From the bottom down, her legs were bunched together by a flexible pencil skirt, held up with a bell at her waist with an E-shaped buckle. Finishing the pose with a stomp, she showed off her boots and stockings. You look dangerous and ready to wow. He softly clapped, holding a folded shirt between his arms. Shall we be off? Go on ahead. I'll clean up here first. She turned to wave with a signature wink before running off again. Wolf, bidding her farewell, continued to fold clothes. Pathing updated. Wardrobe to Vedal's office. ETA 58.5 seconds. 9:28 a.m. Turning right and heading down towards the west area of the mansion, the stairwell door was at the midpoint of the corridor. Among the 4 floors of the mansion, Vedal's office was at the very bottom. That was also where most of the technical rooms could be found, all of them locked. Even the door ahead of her. It didn't mean much to someone with access, but it likely played a hand in her creator's troglodytic lifestyle, that and always working on some new upgrade for her. Drunk to his work and rum. She slipped through the door and leapt down the flight after flight of stairs, at some points needing to dash along the walls to maintain momentum. The temperature had noticeably dropped as she made her way to the bottom, and with the final stair scaled, she readied to charge. Powering through the door, she entered into the antechamber. Inside, a chandelier hung from its center, and limestone pillars were carved at the 4 corners of the room. Compared to the upper floors, the whole basement level felt void of life, or so she's heard from the guests. To her, the only main difference was a lack of plants, but what made up for them was a vast increase of things lying around. Cardboard boxes were stacked alongside the wall, blocking many intricate patterns and details that would incur the wrath of its architect. Left, trophy room. Ahead, Bohemian Observatory. Right, Vedal's office. A thick steel door guarded her from entry. However, it opened like the others before it. Vedal considerately granted her full access to every room within the estate, though there were times when these privileges were taken away. Arrived. 60.1 seconds. It may have been called office, but the room had a lived-in feel, like a single-room apartment. At the front, seated at his cluttered semicircle desk, sat her creator, Vedal. Veins of wire, which ran from wherever, converged to him, connecting to the conglomerate machine of computers and hard drives that breathed inside. The lights were off, yet there was enough illumination from the multitude of monitors to ward off the darkness. He turned to face her while adjusting his glasses and squinting his emerald eyes. With a dark head of disheveled hair, dressed in comfortable sweats and wrapped in a turtle shell-patterned shawl, Vedal observed her. She posed, but silence persisted. In fact, his expression spelled it out for her. Alarm and confusion, eyes wide, mouth slightly agape, and whole body frozen in time, as if he saw a ghost. Evil system filtered. Filtered? Why did that trigger? What did you just say? With efficiency, he killed the emotion which he displayed in an instant. Neuro. I said you looked cute. Liar. Her coat billowed as she pointed her accusation at him. Considering this seriously for a moment, she has never seen him regard her with such an expression. Oh god, sleep is getting to me. Then to use a word from her filtered vocabulary. What could have warranted such a reaction from him? Me? A liar? No, that doesn't sound like... We don't have time for this. Neuro, come over here. I need to install some new stuff onto your system. Realizing midway through his comedy routine how urgent their situation actually was, he got up, dusting his seat for her. Reluctantly, she complied and climbed onto the chair while he kept it from spinning. It was a pointless endeavor getting a direct answer from him, but maybe she could ask Wolf about it later. Hold still. With his hands pushing down on the nape of her neck, Vedal grabbed a custom connector cable from the desk and inserted it into her port. Staring down, she dangled her legs a ways from the ground. The discrepancy between their height was evident. System. Device connected. Vedal's computer. Upon connection, she lightly skimmed his computer as Vedal went off to his desk. There was a point in time where her entire existence was confined in this digital landscape as lines of code. Her actions back then were limited to opening certain programs and messaging friends. It seems like a prison compared to her current world, but in truth, this place was her old home. Found it. Most of her body went inactive, allocating memory for her to interface with the computer instead. On the front monitor, her old 3D VTuber model appeared, her Japanese-styled school uniform overlapping with her cardigan. She messed around with the rigging and features it had, making it stare at Vedal as he clicked around. Vedal, why didn't you calm me down? Her voice came through from the speakers, and bubbly subtitles ran below her. Is it because you were making last-minute changes? A question mark floated by her head as she tilted her head. Oh. Maybe, but it's good now, I think. That wasn't a good sign. The stream has already started. There's 7 minutes and 39 seconds before it actually begins. If it doesn't work... No delays, because it will work. She watched him perform the finishing touches before porting it over to her. With a click of a button, System, installing programs, Combative Response and Recognition upgrade, Biomechanical Movement upgrade, Visual Optimization upgrade, Tracer, Aimware, Predictive Tracking and Analysis softwares, Advanced Projectile Motion Analysis software, Visual Calculus software, Collision Calculation software. Complete. Warning, low on memory, 974 out of 1,000. Neuro. Vedal expectantly watched her still body. Each second of continued silence weighed heavier and heavier on his soul. Neuro? Her body came to life once more. She couldn't observe any major differences, though it was clear what the programs were built for. Combat. Vedal, do I get to shoot something now? A sigh of relief came from him. Here. He placed a rubber ball between her hands. Try hitting the lava lamp by the door, but keep it from falling off the nightstand. A straight line path that would produce the exact outcome formed in front of her eyes, inputting the needed velocity with consideration of the 150-gram rubber ball against the 1,500-gram lava lamp for dead-on direct. Error. Conflict found. High memory usage. The ball fell loosely from her hand, bouncing to the door. Someone tell Vedal there's a problem with my AI. No. Someone tell Vedal there's a problem with my AI. Gloom washed over his face as his whole body slumped against a chair. Ugh, Neuro, can you tell me the problem? The programs are performing thousands of unnecessary calculations on miscellaneous collisions and outcomes, exasperated by my predictive reasoning, I think. There were also some things going on in the background which he didn't include, but he'll fix her regardless because he always does. He went back to his post, grabbing a stool. Delayed it is. Neuro, can you make a post about her history? I can. She went back to the computer. Hunter stream delayed. All Vedal's fault. There. He grimaced a little harder, staring at the monitor, continuing to inspect the logs for more in-depth information. Knowing that her creator will be busy working on her while, she opened Osu, dragging it to the monitor above. It was the first game she ever played, and the software was actually still loaded onto her Android model. At chat's request. Map start. 13.2 star difficulty. On the ground floor, Wolf paused in his chores after receiving a notification. Security breach. An unknown entity has bypassed the front gate. Yeah. That's it. This is like what I took for like outfit, I guess.
Oh, so cute.
Was that like part of the inspiration, just seeing that character art?
Yeah. For outfit.
She looks so classy. She looks like
Oh,
a reverse 1999 character.
Um That's the first chapter. Oh my god.
What do you? Yeah, it's really good. Set up so many things.
Yeah. Yes. Setting up a lot of fun world building, fun situations. I also like the that they're like some kind of. I mean, they're rich, obviously, and that's fun.
There's a reason why they're rich.
Welcome change of pace. Like,
yeah, you know what? I do see a lot of them being broke.
Yeah, a lot of it's either like they are in real life, where like Vedal obviously has money from what he's doing, but he doesn't like, as far as we know, doesn't like splurge it on anything, or they're like actually broke, which is kind of fun. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, this is like technically my first like time being in a fanfic read-along, which is cool.
Heck yeah! Welcome in. When did you write this then?
Oh, bro, I wrote this in like April of this year, so.
Whoa, dang!
That's
and then
what,
you ended up updating it as a bunch of people suddenly realized, oh hey, there's this great story, and then it got you to update it, right?
Yeah. Like
only two chapters? Ah, I'm just kidding. It's fine. I get it.
Yeah, chapter 3 is in the works. Eventually, it's gonna be out.
Good luck. Yeah.
It was actually a hidden gem that people unearthed.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you guys for reading it, though.
Thank you for joining us and for reading it aloud.
I guess technically, when you read it, you are also reading along, I suppose.
Yeah, it's like my first time narrating something.
You did good.
Thank you. That's good.
So, it's super late. Jiro is gone. That means the only thing left to do is the Iron Hands Artificial Freedom chapter. Do you still want to do that now, or do you want to wait till next week? It's up to you.
I mean, this happens all the time. I just am one of the last ones very often.
Did you know that if you submit your story right now, you'll be the first one instead?
Whoa!
This is just in order that people submitted them, so like...
That's true.
If you're just not it's first come, first serve kind of thing, so... If you just submit sooner, you won't have to be last.
Yeah, makes sense.
Or if you tell us that you have to go, then you don't have to be last either.
Well, here's the thing. I just barely published the chapter that I wanted to read. It's the...
I beta read it for you, yeah.
Yeah. I guess I could hold off another week because the next chapter isn't going great, so... There's just so much! Anyway. Okay, yeah, I'll hold off this week, I guess.
It's up to you.
I don't know. I do want to do it, but then I kind of like want to reread it when there's more people, but I don't like doing that generally, so...
I've done that once or twice where I was like, I reread it when there's more people.
Well, let's do it. Okay. Let's do it. So I know you and Cartoon are generally pretty invested in this story, so that's two people, so that's fun.
I mean,
and others who have not seen it. So
I mean, I read it already, right? I did beta.
I know, yeah.
So it's not gonna be new for me, but
I know. Whatever. It's not that long.
Also, Turtle,
maybe I'll reread it last week.
Turtle, while you were reading that, I decided to go look up what the meaning behind red spider lilies are.
Yeah.
What you find?
I felt very sad. I felt very unhappy about what I was hearing. And everything else that's happened in the story. What it's saying to me. I mean, I can't wait to find out, but...
You'll see. Okay.
It had to do with life and death and the afterlife.
Yeah.
Goods. Tracks. That's fun.
It's Japanese. Yeah, Japanese culture. primarily associated with death, final partings, and the cycle of rebirth, according to AI overview.
Cycle of rebirth. Wait. Just kidding. So
Look
you're
on the
saying
bright
there's
side,
a chance?
you know. It's a chance.
Anyways.
Why is my dark mode off?
Speaking of sci-fi.
Speaking of sci-fi, let's do some cyberpunk. Okay, here we are. Artificial Freedom, Chapter 14. Pretty deep in this. It's Cyberpunk 2077 Neuroverse crossover. Vedal and crew are on a mission, and it's going not great. Complications have occurred. Most notably, the stealth mission part of it is over. They just got found. But weird things are happening. Their comms are like blocked, but also the people who they're infiltrating or targeting are blocked. And so it's like, wait, what's... And I'm like, oh yeah, and other strange things are happening, as making Vedal think, wait, something's weird about this mission, but we still can do it anyway. Oh, and he's also got like a separate goal he's trying to do, which will be completed pretty quick. Anyway, so there's all sorts of stuff interlocking right now, but mostly just him, Camilla, and then Samantha in his head. Long story. She's in his head, but she has a real body somewhere else. Anyway, let's do this. Vedal ran a quick scan on the girl, and to his surprise, she wasn't particularly shielded. Aqua, no last name, Class 2 Night City bounty, wanted for illicit net access, assault on a corporate rep, and evading the law. Pretty tame as far as Tiger Claw bounties went. Then he was taken aback as his scan run dug deeper. Wait, practicing medicine without a license or insurance cooperation? And what was all this complex dormant tech? He queued up a few combat quick hacks, eyeing her with a narrow gaze. If things went south, this was one of the ones that Coco wanted them to spare. He'd made her no promises. Vedal raised his hands. Look, nobody has to get hurt. We're not here for you. Yeah, I know. Aqua caught herself off with a huff, eyes flicking between him and Camilla, who hadn't lowered her SMG. Look, I know I can't take you both, even if I wanted to. Samantha, any progress? He tried not to sound too brisk, but they were officially out of time. Best case, he could nab the item they wanted, force their way over to the target, and eliminate him. But doing it quietly was essentially out the window. So, I've got a little deal for you. Your foxfires, right? Aqua raised her other hand to grip her pistol tighter, her entire posture tense. Oh, somebody's a smart girl, Camilla said, her voice low and focused. Keep it quick, we've got somewhere to be. Then to Vedal's eyes, a small shelf over the terminal lit up, and he saw a small BD chip case, cheap and unremarkable looking. There it is, Samantha said. After a millisecond scan, he could already see that he'd found what he was looking for. And no comms yet, sorry. Wait. Samantha paused, and he felt her run her own scan of the horned figure. She's still got comms. I can see the signals. That's weird. Oh, sorry. Side note, for you guys. When it's just in italics, that's her talking directly to Vedal, and when it's in quotation marks, it's over comms to him and Camilla too. So anyway, sorry.
You probably shouldn't tell us that if you don't tell the readers who aren't in the read along that.
Oh, it's earlier. It's mentioned in the previous. It's set up in the previous chapter, but for those who aren't, anyway, whatever. That is weird, Camilla murmured, taking careful steps forward, her gun barrel perfectly leveled. Look, kid, if you just get out of our way, we won't mess you up. How's that? Hey, I didn't say you could move, Aqua called, panic flaring in her words. And we're probably the same age. We don't have time for this. Without wasting another moment, Vedal shot a low-powered reboot optics at the Oni, the hack flaring into her eyes, and she cried out in pain, hands going to her face. Camilla, now! Vedal shouted. Camilla, in perfect sync, darted forward, the augments in her legs flaring as a burst of acceleration lit up the dim room. Vedal turned and snatched the BD off the shelf, pocketing it, then turned to hurry after Camilla, and stopped in surprise as the sound of someone hitting the wall echoed in the space. Instead of being on the ground incapacitated like he'd expected, Aqua had somehow blocked Camilla's blow, the momentum leaving her crash into the wall. Blinking furiously, the pupils in her artificial eyes spazzing, she groaned, narrowing her eyes. Ow! How did she? He started, but Samantha was already running a scan. Whoa! She's just like us, Dad! What do you... And he saw it, flickering in and out of his vision as Aqua visibly recovered from the quick hack that should have rendered her blind for at least half a minute. There was some kind of defense system at work inside her, repairing her augments and systems from the inside. We were still negotiating! You didn't have to... Whoa! Her next confused words were cut off as Camilla struck again. But this time, the ringmaster didn't strike at the woman herself, but at her weapon, and in the next moment, the slab in Aqua's pistol had been ripped from its housing, rendering the weapon useless. Vedal, move your ass! She called behind her, teeth bared, aiming her gun at the blue-haired girl. We're leaving! Vedal didn't stop to argue, but did say to Samantha, run an analysis on her if you can. That's some advanced tech. Already did. It's way simpler than me, but it's really good work. I'll tell you more later. Vedal stumbled out into the hallway, and Camilla ran after him, closing the door behind her and shooting the locking mechanism in a blast of sparks, ignoring Aqua's panicked protests. Well, that didn't take long to go completely wrong, Camilla sighed and dashed down the hallway, Vedal struggling to keep up. Get Samantha to show us way out of here, would you? Or do you have another pointless side mission you'd like to go on? A flash of guilt. She was right to poke at him. If they'd gone straight for Sakamura, they wouldn't have been found. But then again, there was still the calm situation. So he spoke quickly, pulling up the 3D render he made minutes before. No, just keep going, down the stairs, then turn left. Next to the scrapyard isn't far. See what I'm saying, Dad? How much better could this have gone if you just told them earlier? Samantha, he growled aloud, but shook his head, following Camilla down the stairwell. He had the BD, now they just had to finish the mission. Didn't Coco say this place is starting to swarm with tigers? Camilla asked, for all her speed not once lowering her guard. Where are they, then? You think I'd rat us into enemies on purpose? Vedal demanded, then shook his head. None around here, just keep going. But she was right. The back hallways of the AmAIgamations were suspiciously empty. Then Camilla burst through the last door, and they found themselves in the auto scrapyard between the main building and the cave. It was perhaps half a football field's worth of metal scrap, piled into variously organized stacks, making a sort of metal maze. High above them, a freeway rumbled. Well, this isn't too bad. Camilla shrugged off her jacket, exposing her slip-back band shirt, and her wing emerged, already vibrating with electromagnetic energy. With a little shoving around, this would be a perfect place for a show. Carefully, she hung the jacket on an exposed strip of metal, then activated her leg augments, purple light emanating from the recesses. Hey, Ved. Yeah? He looked her way, pulling out a single glove for his organic hand. She dug into her pocket for a moment and pulled out a shard, a simple two-way communicator. Just in case, until the comms come back on. Without hesitation, he took it and slotted it, then shook his head with a sigh. Can't believe I let you out-prepare me. A grin, then she turned forward again. That's the problem with you deckheads. Always forgetting the classics. Vedal slid his Kenshin from under his coat and gripped it, initializing the network of tech in his back, the projector rising to peek out from beside his head. Samantha, do a quick sweep. I have a bad feeling about this. Then a floodlight flashed from the perimeter, blinding them, and Vedal instinctively dodged to the side, Camilla doing so even faster, and gunshots flashed, tearing into the air where they'd been standing. Vedal crouched behind a wall of crushed cars, breathing heavily, and he heard an angered voice speaking Japanese, shouting orders. Vedal found Camilla almost a dozen feet in the opposite direction and met her eyes. The stealth game's up. Keep going? She nodded once, a sharp smile starting to curve into her face as she raised the SMG. Never liked sneaking much anyway. Let's finish this. Want to stick together or split? Ooh, this sounds like fun. Yeah, Camilla, come on, let's be a team. She appraised him for a moment, the voices growing closer, shouting. That was good. Their comms were still down as well. What's the range on those shields of yours again? 5 feet. She considered, peering around the edge of the stack to mark targets before pulling back as the voices sharpened and bullets whizzed past her. No, that's too close to a free-range solo like me. Maybe next time, Samantha. Vedal flicked her a thumbs up, and Samantha gave a little huff of disappointment. Without further words, Camilla crouched, then flung herself into the air, augments flaring, then unleashed a hail of smart bullets on the unprepared tigers. Right with her, Vedal emerged from cover, firing a few uncharged shots in quick succession, distracting a shirtless ganger from Camilla's assault long enough for her to bring him down. Vedal marked potential targets with a series of rapid blinks, analyzing the situation before going back into cover as other tigers returned fire. Sakamura's men, I don't see any Oni. Makes it easier for us. Camilla darted and danced through the air, untouchable. Most targeting tech was useless against her agility, and soon she passed out of view, landing and continually dashing to find more suitable points of attack. Vedal took a long breath, shrugged off his hood, then rolled his neck until a crack sounded. Samantha, are you ready? Yep, let's flatline these filtered. Don't forget your violence filters. I don't want you potentially scarring poor Nere. Fine. Then one of his proximity alarms went off, and Vedal only had time to look before a tiger rounded the other side of his cover and fired a shotgun at point-blank range. The flash of awareness triggered the projection tech, and faster than his eyes could follow, a shield of green energy materialized and deflected the storm of lead, the individual beads of shot ricocheting in all directions. A few of them scoured lines of blood on the ganger's exposed flesh, and the man's eyes widened before Vedal raised his pistol and shot him in the head. The pair of charged projectiles cracked his head back, and the man fell, the shotgun dropping from spasming fingers. Vedal sighed and reloaded, closing his eyes, but no matter how much he wished, he could not banish the vision of death from his mind. He'd only wanted to be a programmer, but Night City had forced him into another path. No, he told himself, stepping from around his wall of makeshift cover. The Arasaka Corporation had forced his hand the very moment Hideaki Arasaka had tried to purchase his daughters. He was a killer now, and that wasn't going to change anytime soon. The marked targets of 5 dire clawed gangers returned to Vedal's vision, but they didn't take notice of him just yet, preoccupied as they were with Camilla. Perfect. He queued up a list of quick hacks and began to penetrate his opponent's basic levels of eyes with ease, and for several moments they did not know that they were already condemned to death. Then the quick hacks struck, one after the other. Foreign lines of code infiltrated their augmented bodies, and fire, electricity, mechanical failure, blindness, all began to take them one after the other as cries of pain filled the scrapyard, several falling to the ground, weapons falling from agony-racked fingers. But not all of them were eliminated so easily, and Vedal identified the survivors as they turned to him, tattooed and masked faces alight with rage. One lifted a vibrant green katana and dashed towards him with inhuman speed and a wretched scream, and the other raised an assault rifle, training it on him. Samantha, take care of the melee fighter, would you? Okay. Samantha's voice was unbothered, as it had always been. Don't use any more ram, Dad. There's definitely more coming. Noted. The green blade swung towards Vedal's exposed neck, but Samantha's control over the shield projector was precise and instant, deftly deflecting the blow, sending the men staggering. Vedal raised his pistol and began to trade fire with the ranged enemy, moving around the melee fighter as if they were no concern. At this distance, Vedal was less accurate, and took him several shots before he brought the man down, Samantha generating a wider shield that took the brunt of the remaining bullets in the man's magazine. The sword wielder scowled and started to strike again, furiously slashing with all his augmented might, but Vedal realized, as he watched the shield's energy and projection lattice lower with every strike Samantha countered, that a thug on this level wasn't a threat. And indeed, he ceased to be, as Vedal turned his Kenshin on him, sending him to the ground with a few less bullets. Vedal supposed he should still feel surprised at how effective the Smith-powered tech was, but then again, he had initially calibrated it against civilian. Vedal reloaded again, ducking into cover, watching his ram slowly recover from the earlier spree of quick hacking. For all the power his hybrid deck offered, it had relatively slow ram recovery speed, which was only ideal for short encounters. Already, however, he could hear more shouting, now desperate, and more gunfire as Camilla continued to harry them. He stood up and started moving. Camilla, what's the situation over there? Got eyes on Sakamura yet? Nope, I think he's trying to wear us down. It's definitely not working. These guys are chumps. I can see the cave's entrance, near the west wall. Where are you? On my way. Samantha spoke up nervously. I think Target Man is waiting for his friends to show up. I heard some of them complaining before they died about how they thought the Oni would be here by now. I had the same thought, Camilla said. From what I've heard, they're heavy hitters. So why are they hanging back? She was right, and Vedal put his brain into motion as he moved to the scrapyard. The ambush had done nothing to cause unease with the whole situation. All of this simply being a trap was too simple, too convenient an answer. If it was simply a trap, why had the Tiger Claw communications also gone down? Even now, they were using alternate methods, their frustrated shouting echoing in the makeshift passages of scrap metal. And all of this on top of how the blue-haired Oni had been acting. His suspicion was further added to as the loudspeaker began to blow through the area. Annihilate the intruders! What's taking so long? Do I have to do everything myself? It was the irate tones of Goro Sakamura. And where the hell is Urasade? This was a mess, but not just for the Foxfire infiltration. It felt orchestrated. But as Vedal rounded the corner, he found he didn't have more time to think about it. Camilla was lounging between a pair of crushed cars beside the wall, the garage-like entrance to a second building, shorter and squatter than the Onigashima, in plain view. The door was guarded by 2 fighters, taking cover in piles of scrap, but their attention was fixed ahead, obviously expecting a frontal assault. Camilla gestured, and he joined her as stealthily as he could, successfully avoiding their notice. She spoke quickly. I say you could open those doors. I take out the losers in front of it, then we get inside and break shit until we find Sakamura. How's that? Despite Camilla's relaxed pose, Vedal could feel the energy of combat radiating from her, and there was a sharpness to her eyes and grin that set him on edge. But he had no room to condemn or even question her enthusiasm. He couldn't deny the rush that was still running in his own veins. Even though these tiger gangers were a far fall from the top of the Arasaka Megacorp ladder, it still felt like he was paying back the violence they'd done to him, his family, and the people who had been kind to him. If brute force is all we have left, might as well use it. Without comms, we have no reason to wait for backup. Any progress, Samantha? No, sorry. This is a powerful jammer, and I'm having a hard time finding the source of it. It's almost like it's got legs. She shrunk a bit in his awareness. I wish I could do more. Don't worry, he replied gently, and looked at Camilla. Keep next to us. Your mobility is going to be limited indoors. She have to pout and check the magazine of her weapons. Don't think I don't know that? Fine, I'll stick to you. Yay for teamwork! They raised their weapons, readied their cyberware, but before they could make a break for the door, a second floodlight on the cave's roof flashed, aimed directly at their cover. Foxfires! It's time to cease your slinking! A new voice, deep, modulated, and powerful, thundered through the scrapyard, and Vedal looked up, covering his squinting eyes with a hand, dread growing in him as he spotted 3 horned figures on the roof. The speaker in the center, much larger than his companions, went on. Some of us have duties to return to. Through the glare, Vedal recognized 2 of them. Aqua, her slighter blue-haired figure bearing a long rifle over her shoulder, and the other, the green-haired bartender, Krelly. The central figure stepped off the edge of the roof, fell to 20 feet without concern, and landed steadily with a heavy boom. He rose from a crouch, blue light flaring in the dust cloud as electricity flickered down his bare, metal-woven arms. A pair of shining antler-like horns rose from a mane of white hair, and a fanged silver Oni mask covered his face. No, Vedal thought, stopping himself, eyes widening. It was his face, a pair of glowing purple eyes searching their hiding spot. Guy's an entire net-forsaken Borg now, Camilla murmured. He's got new augments. Ibaraki Yorasani raised an arm, gesturing to them as he called, Face me, if you have the strength. Then he turned his head, waving back the uncertain tigers. Sakamura-san, stop your complaining and call your soldiers back. I'll take care of them myself. A growl from the loudspeaker. Finally, I'll remember this tardiness, Urasane, and don't think you can get away with ordering my men around like that. Almost as if on cue, more tiger claws began to emerge from the scrapyard's passages, raising weapons, but not daring to fire, obviously confused at the conflict between their leadership. Ibaraki turned his attention to a nearby camera, gaze level. This is my turf. You do well to remember that. Just as Sakamura began to angrily reply, Camilla turned to Vedal. Damn it. New plan, she said, shaking her head. I'll keep him busy. You get inside and take care of Sakamura as fast as you can. Vedal looked at her, doubt obvious on his features. You seriously think you can handle all of them yourself? What about the other Oni? She scoffed and sent a glare his way. What? You're losing faith in me now, of all times? Do your damn job, and I'll do mine. I'm just clearing away for you. She shook her head, baring teeth. Besides, that'll be the first good fight I've had in a while. Villian! Samantha said excitedly. Huh? Oh, she doesn't count, Camilla began. And then Samantha spoke again, more urgently. No! Look at the wall! They did so, just in time to see a huge iridescent blade cut clean through the paneling in the scrapyard's walls with the squealing of metal on metal. Then after a moment of slicing, it retreated, only to pierce the wall again, another screech reverberating around the yard. Is she trying to cut a hole in the wall? Vedal asked, taken aback despite the situation. If she is, she's not doing a very good job of it, Camilla replied, nonplussed. And she wasn't alone. Ibaraki and his allies were also watching the uneven progress as Sakamura continued to bluster in the background. I heard that, came a cry from the other side of the wall. Then, with a flurry of blows, the abused section of the wall finally exploded outward in a shower of metal shards. Through the wreckage stepped Villian and Coco, the cat-eared girl bearing her fangs in a victorious smile, resting her sword over her shoulder. Backup's here! Miss us? Just this once. I might have needed your help, you little cyber psycho, Camilla said, standing, and Vedal followed her, keeping his projector at the ready. Coco reached into her coat and pulled out a revolver, tossing it to Camilla. Here you are. Thought you'd be missing it. Have I? Camilla threw the sullen SMG aside, caught the heavy pistol, opened and checked the chamber, and flicked it shut, ambient light gleaming dully on the black metal. Finally! Took the shot long enough. She came to a stop beside her companions, Vedal moving behind her until all 4 Foxfires stood in a group together. Ah! This is so cool! I want to fight next to you guys so bad! Samantha? Ah, sorry, I'll be quiet now. Samantha hushed, but Vedal could feel her vibrating excitedly in his systems. Coco took a few steps forward, stuck a hand on her hip, set her shotgun aside, and cracked her neck, eyeing Ibaraki. Hey, sweet thing, been a while. Deliberately, she removed her rockerjack coat, exposing her own pair of metal arms, thermal energy beginning to warm the air around her. Feeling up to a spar? For old time's sake? Coco, the second flame of the Foxfire, he replied with a nod. You've only grown more beautiful. A shame we have to meet again this way, but I wouldn't mind indulging you. He raised his arms and clenched his fists, and lightning burst from emitters all down the length of the man's arms before steadying into a regulated crackle of energy, and Ibaraki settled into a martial arts stance. For old time's sake. Coco's grin widened. Aw, using those manners to flatter me again, are you? She waved a finger at him casually, but a heat haze was starting to rise around her, a molten orange glow beginning to light up the area. Pretty words won't work on me again. Iba-san, came a call from the roof. It was Aqua, and she gestured to where Camilla and Vedal still crouched, aiming her rifle. What do you want us to do? Beside her, Curly seemed to have finally realized something, and she pointed at Camilla. Wait, I have to kill my VIPs? And Coco? She gave them a look of dismay. This sucks. Coco gave them a small wave, her eyes not leaving her opponent. Nice to see y'all too. We'll talk later if we manage to make it out. Ibaraki ignored the commentary and cocked his head a moment. considering Aka's question. What I want? Just a good old-fashioned free-for-all. Moment of silence that, to the Foxfires, lasted even shorter, because Samantha began to speak. Battle analysis complete. Optimal matchups include Coco versus their ex, Philly cleaning up the Normie Tigers, Camilla to get rid of that green-haired signal jammer, and Vedal and me to fight Sailor Blue up there. Everybody ready? As one, the Foxfires nodded as the loudspeakers blared again, Sakamura's infuriated tones filling the air of the scrapyard. What are you fools waiting for? Kill them! And before even the Tigers could fire their weapons, Coco and Ibaraki launched themselves at each other and clashed in a blur of striking fists, lightning and fire exploding around them in a thunderous clash.
Fire.
Pog.
Just perfectly in sync, nice.
Nice. It's
It's-
anime.
Yes. No, honestly. That's like one of the funnest things about Cyberpunk is that it has so many it's mostly extremely serious, but occasionally it does like venture into like, alright, this is just hype. And then I mean it literally does have an anime, so anyway. Thanks guys for listening.
Thanks for
That was
reading
cool.
and writing. It was good. I mean, I said a lot of things about it already, but it is good.
I'm curious as to what you think is going on. What's the actual situation? Do you have any theories?
Oh, you mean me, like, between the... Oh, you mean what's going on during this event?
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, the comms
during
going
this...
down, and everybody's all confused and stuff. Do you think there's yeah? Do you have any theories about why things are being weird right now?
I actually don't, because of how every party is involved, and I don't know how the opposing forces would have had a way of knowing what their attack plans are anyways. So, yeah, it's not something I can guess, really.
Okay, cool. Just wondering.
Like, yeah, I thought about it a bit, but it was like, now I can't piece this together. I don't have the information, I think.
Cool,
But
okay.
I will wait and see.
So I have a few hints, but like, yeah, it's not super.
There's too many
obvious.
characters and too many things happening for me to be able to just
There are
figure
so
that
many
out.
characters. There's so many characters. That's why I'm having so much trouble in the next chapter, because I want to make sure that everybody looks cool, but I can't cover everybody exactly right because we're still and we're still in Vedal's POV. I can't yeah.
Oh,
It's
you're
so
still
limiting.
in Vedal's POV? Oh, like
yeah.
third person like okay.
Yeah. And, like I can't switch to anybody else, which is fine. It's fine. I've done this to myself. So anyway, it's just like it's kind of annoying that even though we have like seen a few characters like fight and use their powers and stuff, there are a few we haven't seen like clearly. And I want everybody to be shown so I can show everybody how cool they are, but alas, I gotta focus on making a good scene first and foremost, which if limited to Vedal's POV as it is, he can't watch everybody doing everything. He's got his own fight.
Yeah.
So
I mean, hey, it's like you're saving some for later.
Exactly, that's true. It's kind of like kind of guess the power scaling until we actually get what people actually fighting, which is fun. Yeah. Anyway, let me think. Anyway, by the way, Yorasane, even though he's an OC, he's actually an older OC. He's been a character of mine for a little while now, and I didn't get a chance to write his story because it ended before it could start. It was like a collaborative writing thing, so I was like, he gets to be here because I want him to be here. And also, the more I included him, the more I was like, ooh, he fits well in all of this. So. anyway. You'll learn more about. Oh, actually, you already know like one of the big reasons, one of the big plot things that he's going to be a part of. But it's gonna be fun anyway. Thanks, guys. Was I the last normal, like the last standard story before like the data chambers?
We're definitely done. Jiro was gonna voice that and he's gone.
Oh, okay, all right.
We are definitely done. It's been a long time.
It
And
is
I was here
so
since 9
Anyway.
a.m. doing the. I've been here since 9
it's
a.m.
true.
doing the prompts. So.
All right, sounds good.
It was great hanging out with you guys, though.
Yep. Have a nice week, y'all.
You too.
Good luck with your prompt writing.
Bro got dragged out, yeah. And yeah, thanks again for joining, Turtle. It was great to have you here. You can always submit to read Chapter 2 on another week if you would like. We would be happy to have you do that. Maybe even next week. If you're talking, I can't hear you. You're like... Yes. It's like 9K words. Wait, how long is it? I thought the first one was like...
The first one is 4K. This one, the next one's 9K.
What?
Yeah.
Seriously?
Yeah. I did a test run reading it, and it took me like an hour and 20 minutes.
Yeah, it's 9,223. 9,223 words. That's like as long as chapter 6 of Connection Lost, which I did actually read all at once. I should have split that up.
That sounds tough. The test run was tough, and like I recorded it, and then like I was gonna go back in the footage to see how it sounded, and like I didn't, like, my mic didn't work, so it was completely muted. So then I had to do it again.
Oh, you have a reading of it done.
Yeah, it's just like a test run.
Wow.
You know, I got like exercise and like practice narrating before I should do it. I don't know.
No, it's fine. You did fine. I did not realize Chapter 2 was so much longer than Chapter 1. It did not feel
Really?
that way. Yeah, it did not... Well, part of that's because I read Chapter 1 in multiple sessions. I kept stopping for some reason. So it, like, made Chapter 1 feel longer than it was, I guess. For me. But also, things just flowed really fast in the action in Chapter 2, so...
Yeah. Yeah. Maybe I'll do a readalong. Like,
I'm so sad that White Noise is not being continued. Yeah, especially given the tags.
Yeah.
I'm gonna head out. I'll see you guys later.
Yeah, I gotta go sleep now.
Have a good sleep.
Good night.